Hello, race fans, and welcome to Off Camber TV's coverage of the Pacific Major Series. Here we are tonight at the Mount Panorama Circuit for live flag-to-flag coverage of the Bathurst 500. We're looking at about 3 hours worth of racing here, 81 laps around this 3.86 mile 23 turn road course here in beautiful Australia. And joining me in the booth tonight
Right.
is Katie Reed, and making his first appearance back into the booth in it feels like forever, good old Roscoe. How y'all guys doing
Hey,
tonight?
how's everybody doing?
Hey guys, I'm doing good, Wes. I'm ready for this race. I don't know much about this racetrack here, which actually makes it a little bit more exciting. These guys seem to be pretty close in time up front, and I think we might have an interesting race on our hands.
Most certainly, it does look like it's going to be a fun-filled, action-packed race around here. It's going to be a long one for these guys. They're running the V8 supercars, so we got the Holden Commodores and the Ford Falcons out here tonight. A lot of speed, a lot of horsepower, a lot of torque these cars make, but these things really don't turn worth 2 cents.
No. I've had a little bit of experience behind the wheel in these on the service, and they drive like a sled, and then they drive like they're on ice. So I can't tell which way I'm going.
All right, I believe Katie's got the weather for us right quick.
Yeah, we've got a clear track on our hands right now. It looks like it is 71 degrees outside, 98 degrees on the track, 35% humidity, and a slight wind out of the northeast at 8 miles an hour.
I think it's going to be a fairly slick time for him out there on this track, and a lot of winds. Definitely going to affect him at the top of the mountain, as we're wrapping up on the official warm-up session. Just got about a minute and some change left, and this is the Sportsman split of the Pac Major Series. I believe this is the last race of the year, so a lot of points battles coming to an end after this race, and this is going to settle a lot of the stuff. I'm trying to bring up the freaking website real quick. And also going into next season, there's going to be a ton of changes to the Pac Majors, actually opening it up to, I believe we're going to have the Atlantic Majors, the European Majors, a lot of different leagues stemming off from the main Pac 6 league that we have right now. Looks like Trevor Clement, if he's not in this race, which I believe he is, Clement, he is actually not, so he should be in top split if he made the race. He is your current leader in the Sportsman division. Mark Herzog in second, 173 points out. D. Palmer, Jared Morgan, and Stephen Paulison rounding out your top five in the Sportsman division. And then you break it down. You got the individual clubs: the California, the Great Plains, the Texas, the West, the Northwest, and the Canada clubs. All going to have their separate champions as well. So going to be an exciting race as we're getting ready to turn over to the race session. We're going to have to give you your grid pretty quick here, because they do mimic the real world start here, which will be a standing start here on the front stretch. Going to get ready for 81 laps of just pure road racing.
Wes, as we change over to race trim here, got about 40 seconds before they line up on grid. I want to point out, I'm looking at the difference of practice times, practice laps these guys have logged, and it looks like to me we have a big difference between a couple of drivers. I'm looking at the most run by Gary Nichols at 125, And then we've got a couple drivers in the 30s on laps run, including the 42 of Tom Drilling. So only running 35 laps. Should be interesting.
Should get your grid up here momentarily. And Paul Gehringer is going to roll off on the pole as we give you starting grid. The 96 Jared Morgan going to start to his outside. Chris Pence in third. We got the 09 of Robert LaRonde in fourth. Kyle Murphy going to round out your top 5. And 6 is going to be Adam Young. Matt Gelder in 7th. Mike Taylor 8th. Dan Garber in 9th. And Stephen Paulison is going to round out your top 10. You got Mark Redeker in 11th. 12th is Jeremy Tester. Ernie Ludwig in 13th. 14th, Gary Nichols. As the green flag is out, so you're going to get the rest of your grid there. You're going to have to read that. I am sorry about that, but we are underway here at Bathurst. Gehringer with a nice jump on Jared Morgan. Going to fall into second. Chris Pence takes over that third spot from Robert LaRonde, and pretty much we're starting to get a ton of separation between the rest of the pack here.
To give you guys a quick rundown of the last 5 spots there, Tom Drelling, Mark McFadden, Stacy Hunter, Scott Kukas, and Seth Alberts out back, but we're looking right up at the lead here and really got a good shot off of that start. Was the 43. He's pulling out to almost a few tenths lead here as they come over to the top of the mountain, working their way up around this corner. Big battle trying to happen for second right now, but it looks like Jared Morgan is going to be able to pull away from Chris Pence in the corner.
And there is not a lot of movement, places to move as they're going up through a lot of these sections. There's walls on both sides of you. Unlike a lot of other road tracks, there's like a spill off. You can slide off the track somewhere. Here, you bang one wall, you're going to hit 3 more.
Yeah, definitely, especially starting to descend down the mountain. A lot of fast-paced, tight turns here as we're swinging through pretty nice. Going to have to watch that little chicane right there. Coming through the S is going to exit the bottom of the mountain. Is Paul Gehringer out in front right now. Jared Morgan doing battle with Chris Pence. Chris Pence being patient. Got about 4 car lengths in between, about 5 now as they are running down the long straightaway here. Going to see speeds of upwards of almost 170.
Sorry, we got a spin bout here. Stacy Hunter, almost crashed someone. I think that was the 18 of Seth Alberts that was just able to get by right now. Stacy going to be able to turn around. It's the last truck. Let's see if she can get going here.
Adding a few more beauty marks onto the back bumper there.
Yeah.
It just looks to me like she just completely lost it in the corner, unfortunately, and had to let everyone go before she could get straight because, like you said, very narrow here. Not going to have a lot of time to get spun back around.
Gehringer's going to lead the first lap, almost a 2-second advantage over Morgan in second. Chris Pence about a 5/10 split, and then 7/10 back to LaRonde in fourth. The top looks to be about the top 6 have broke away from 7th place. That's the 8 of Dan Garber back here, making their way down into the first right-hander of the course. Going to start their ascent up the mountain. Jeremy Tester right behind him, looking pretty stout right now. And Ernie Ludwig, that number 26, I believe should be a club mate with Tester for the Canada Club, right there, right behind him. And then looks like Mike Taylor. Actually, Mark Redeker. No, yeah, Mike Taylor. Hold on, who's riding shotgun then? That should be Kyle Murphy.
Yeah, I'm actually watching the battle round anywhere from second all the way back here until 6th position. They're kind of almost all together, not bumper to bumper, but close enough to attack if something were to happen right in front of them.
Oh yeah, I'm watching the same group right there. Yeah, the spacing's like almost equal between each of them, just waiting.
Early in the race, long race to go here. Don't want to get too eager, make a mistake. Could come back to haunt you, but trying to log laps right now, get in any position they can, see what they can do later in the race.
And basically, I mean, it's looking like here in early going, that 43 of Gehringer, this is his race to lose. As I'm coming down to a little technical part of the track, a little left-hander into a right-hander right there underneath the Amaral Bridge.
Ooh, Matt
heading.
Gelder went off. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
He's going to get easily passed by the 9 of Kyle Murphy. He even moved over for him. He had the speed there after going off on the grass. That'll put Matt Gelder back to the 6th position.
Not going to be there for too long. It looks like he's recovered pretty good. That 69 car is closing in as the 9 does lock him up, getting into turn number 1 there. And we're still rolling about a 2-car length separation between 5th and 6th right there.
Yeah, looking at the speeds across the line, there was only one driver able to log a lap of 2 minutes and 11 seconds, and that was the 43 of Paul Gehringer, so he is very much pulling away from the field here.
Trying to look for some more battles back here.
They look to me like they're all just kind of setting in and, you know, getting comfy. They're not doing anything super aggressive towards each other thus far. I think a couple of those little incidents that happened there earlier kind of probably would have spooked a couple of drivers, narrowly missing some of those drivers that have gone off the track or hit a wall. So,
Ooh, wow. Speaking of hitting
like
a
Katie
wall,
said, yeah,
Chris
yeah, that's
just smacked the wall there. Wow,
That's
almost
bad.
caked it.
Yeah, I would say so. That whole left side of that Valvoline car right there is kind of smooshed.
That's got to be commentator's curse right there. I mean, he smacked it almost on rhythm with when you said that. It's a crazy hit there. See how much it'll affect him here. Still a long, long way to go.
Yep, indeed. We're coming to the completion of lap number 3 right now. Top 4 breaking away and just made it pass. Where did it go?
yeah, they're hitting upwards of 180 miles an hour down through there.
Yeah, Wes, speaking of just making a pass, the 66 of Mike Taylor just made a pass down that long stretch down there, passing the 26 of Ernie Ludwig. It was relatively easy, got his draft, and was able to get out in front of him there.
Yeah, so, I mean, basically you're looking at, from the race lead to 10th place, you're looking at over 10 seconds disadvantage, actually 14 seconds right now with that number 66 of Mike Taylor racing Ernie Ludwig in front of him. You know, basically, like Roscoe said, man, these guys they're settled in, they're ready for the long haul, and you know, the less mistakes that they make. As Pence has passed second place, Jared Morgan, as they're starting their way up the mountain, coming around the tire power turn right there, heading up through the next right-hander into Fujitsu air conditioning land.
Yeah, and it looks like he's got a body panel missing on the front clip there on the driver's side.
I believe that's from the damage earlier he suffered through the mountains the last go-round. But Morgan back into third now. Still has LaRonde right there with him. Hopping the curb right there. That's, woo. It's very, very dangerous to do.
Got a relatively close battle back here, guys. I'm watching. It is the 15 of Gary Nichols trying his best to hold back the 21 of Adam Young, and it's barely working. Oh, Adam getting a little bit sideways there. Been working for just a little bit. Adam having a little bit of trouble down the mountain here. See if he can gather it back up. On that back long stretch, right before they get to the start-finish line, is where Adam almost passed him last lap. Let's see if he can do any better.
Making their way out of that last tight left-hander with the Falcon stickers all over it. That black car, I believe that should be Nichols right there. Going to get around the 20. The 21's going to get around him. Free spot for Adam Young, the riding shotgun motorsports driver. Going to take over that 13th spot.
Jeremy Tester, 270 off the track, has lost 2 positions so far. Looks to me like he should hold on to that last spot. Going to fall all the way back to 10th place. Got quite a few people going off track over there.
It's probably still a little bit of early race jitters that a lot of these guys, especially from like 5th on back, are having. They know that they're in in this race. It's going to be a long race, and still a little bit of nerves will take over, and there'll be some simple mistakes from a couple of these drivers. But after they run about another 5 or 10 laps, they should be nice and settled in, and ready to finish this race as quickly as they possibly can.
Yep, and get ready to go in for a pit.
Anybody know what the
pit window is?
Yes.
I'm not sure. I was just kind of guessing. That's quite a distance there. They're probably tearing those tires up pretty good.
I'm sure if it was up to them, they'd pit every 5 laps or so.
Exactly.
Unfortunately,
Exactly.
that is not the case yet, at least. I'm keeping an eye on the 09 of Robert Laurent. He's getting ever so close to the 96 of Jared Morgan, especially up the mountain. Made up a lot of time coming back down. See if he can pull ever so closely here, especially when you hit the backstretch. Get a little bit of the draft going, see if the person ahead will give you that spot. He's getting closer.
Yeah, and looking at the times, Chris Pence and the 014 and the number 9 of Kyle Murphy, they're running pretty close in times, and they're both about a second faster than the 96 and the 09.
And definitely getting down to the nitty-gritty, using all of the track they can to make that right-hander stick. Morgan going to enter into the braking zone first. Here comes the 09, Robert Laurent, trying to get a run. Not going to have any momentum coming off of the turn, heading under the Amaral Bridge to this left-hander to come back to the front straight. And Morgan going to be able to keep that 3rd spot.
Yeah, just barely. It almost looked like Robert actually had a really good run down the backstretch a few turns ago, and then almost as if Jared Morgan kind of cut off his run and Robert was fine to let him go, see if he would make a mistake, but he did not. So we'll have to try and set him up again once they go down the mountain.
I wonder what Petters is. I have no idea. A couple of another car, or actually that 09, is starting to get to the back bumper of that 96 right now. Laurent going to come into tire power corner. Morgan goes wide. Here comes Laurent with a run to the left-hand side of that 96. Not going to be able to get there. Has to back off. Morgan's going to have the run coming through Fujitsu. And now we're going about halfway up the mountain right now, almost to the crest. And Morgan's still going to hold on to that spot, that 09 of Laurent. He's got something for him. If that 96 makes a mistake, 09 definitely going to be able to capitalize on it. Here crunching, I believe that's Chris Pence in front of us. Not sure if he smacked the left-hand side of that car, but he's definitely slower.
He's completely torn up right now. I mean, both sides are just shot.
Crab walking.
He's going to get passed by the top 4 there, move down into 5th. He's really got to get that car fixed up.
Fun fact. All right. Looks like Morgan's going to go back to 2nd place after starting in 2nd. But we have a 3-way battle for the runner-up position right now as Kyle Murphy throwing his hat into the ring. Here comes the 09 again. Got a good run coming down here. Peeking to the left, going to back off before they get into the turn. Morgan going to retain the 2nd position, as we should see Pence hit the pits. And he's coming into the pits right now.
And someone he'll actually pass on pit lane will be the 18 of Seth Alberts. He has been there for quite a few laps now. Actually came in on the 5th lap, was not able to continue on as he, came in on the 2nd lap as he was not able to continue on. Got tons of damage as he spun going up the mountain.
And there we go. Pass for 2nd. Laurent around Morgan. And here comes Murphy.
Yeah, Murphy saw what was going on up there. He's waiting for his turn next.
Yeah, Murphy actually made up a little bit of time last lap, but actually went off track as they were making their way to the start-finish line and lost a little bit, but now he's starting to gain it back as Jared Morgan did lose one position. We'll see if Jared Morgan will lose another here.
And while they're battling up there, it looks like Murphy's getting ever so closer to the back bumper of that 96. We do have Gelder and Garber behind him to 69 and the 8 getting ready to do battle as they can see the battle in front of them. And rolling down into Cooper's Bend right there, Gelder going to hold that 5th position and blink a little bit.
You want to remind you guys viewing that everyone does have one fast repair to use, and it does look like Chris Pence had to use that there, so he's got a fresh car on track and is back up to speed, back in the 16th position.
Yeah, and it looks like 2nd place of the 09 of LaRonde, just marching away from that number 96, as it looks like Murphy closing in on Morgan right now. Got about 4 to 5 car lengths separating 3rd and 4th right now, but 2nd place of LaRonde is already over 10 seconds behind our race leader, Paul Gehringer, in that number 43, working lap number 8 right now.
Yeah, and he is staying super, super consistent. I mean, he's got a clean racetrack in front of him. He's running 211s consistently every lap. He is just running.
I'm gonna focus on this 43. Nice little black and yellow Ford Falcon right here. And I mean, he's killing it right now. I mean, just looking at his times, I mean, that's warm up. I was like, he had a 10-minute time. What's going on here? I mean, only twice dipped out of the 11s besides the opening lap, but he's Mr. Consistency right now, working his way down the mountain.
Yeah, and he put down a fair amount of practice laps, so he's got plenty of experience on this track. I mean, you think 94 laps at a racetrack during practice, probably not the largest amount you could think of, but on a road course, especially a road course of this length, it's a lot of laps to put down.
Well, at Pack Majors, they do have a minimum practice they have to put down within, I believe it's 2 weeks of the event, or it might be the week of the event. So, you know, everybody's got to at least run that minimum, but, you know, a lot of these guys will sit there and, I mean, they'll fine tune their the car to their liking and run hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of laps. I know, I think we called the Coke 600 for them earlier this year at Charlotte with the Gen 6 cars, and I mean, we've seen people with over 1,000 laps of practice. Back here with 2nd place, the 09 Robert LaRonde, as actually we just had a pass for we got big problems here with the 96. Jared Morgan into the pits.
Yeah, I was just about to highlight that. He actually took a hard shot to the wall, one of the walls on the racetrack here, and he's had to come in. He's got heavy front right damage on that car. We'll see him probably use his one fast repair here. Only 9 laps into this 81 lap race.
Yeah, a lot of time still left. So having to use your fast repair this early off in the running is not exactly a good thing. So he's going to have to be on his P's and Q's. I should say D's and Q's because that's what's all over his car. But
yeah, I think if I'm hearing correctly, he tried to use it, but it didn't check for some reason, and so he's got that saved for the rest of the race. He's just sitting here trying to repair a little bit of the damage as best as he can.
Well, I mean, it's not like he doesn't have time to do that.
Well, he's got to, seeing as he was about, let's say, 15 seconds back of our leader. I mean, that's almost 2 full minutes he needs before Paul will get to him.
And Let's see, the 8 and the 69 right now doing battle coming down the mountain. Looking like a pretty stout battle coming through the Falcon turn right here. That number 8 all over the back bumper of the 69 of Garber, though. He is missing some body work on that number 8 machine.
Yeah, went back to actually see what happened there, and he actually just brushed the wall. He didn't even smack it that hard, but for some reason took a lot of damage.
Making the pass for the 4th position, the 8 flying it in there, almost off.
Wow.
Got it slowed down just enough to make the next turn. That Shell V-Power number 8 has taken over 4th place from the
69.
69, yeah, that guy.
Absolutely. Yeah, going through the field trying to see, and it really is starting to get spread out, especially out back here. These guys just trying to survive at this point. A lot of them losing positions, but either way, still we have the 43 Paul Gehringer putting down some very quick laps. We see the 09 actually, he is sticking around 10 seconds back of Paul right now, easily holding that 2nd position. I don't think anyone really can make it up there to compete with him, especially not with the times that they're putting down.
No. And looking at some of the times there, Robert Laronde in the 09, he did dip into the 211. So, but yeah, like you said, he's 10 seconds back. It's a lot of ground to move.
Okay, I'm back. The 8's loose in front of the 69. 69 had to check up right there, coming out or going into the ascent up the mountain. A big wobble from Garber there.
Put some voodoo down on that car. Luckily, was able to save it though. I want to highlight someone we haven't really talked about this race, and that's the 59 of Mark Redeker, sitting in the 10th position, holding his own, clean car, just not able to move up right now. Qualified 11th, has made 1 spot up. I believe that was from the 014 of Chris Pence, who pitted, fell to the 15th position, has made up 1 spot into the 14th position.
Yeah,
Looks like we have the 06 of Tom Drilling is in the pit lane. He actually is manually disconnected. I believe he might have taken some damage there and decided just to call it a night. Oh yeah, he spun. Ooh, he spun going way up the mountain. Completely lost that car. After having to tow back, he just decided to call it a night.
Let's see here. Well, nothing's changed up towards the front. This is a product of road racing. A lot of separation between these drivers. I mean, let's see. Gelder's actually coming into pit lane right now. 69 coming in to take service. I believe he's driving a Holden tonight. And Jeremy Tester, the 270, came in behind him as well. So we might be seeing some pit stops here on schedule.
Yeah, and Jared Morgan is still sitting there. I really am a little confused as to what's going on with his car. He's gone down a lap. I'm not sure if he's stuck in pit lane or what. We'll have to see about that. But either way, he's fallen down to 17th position, down a lap. Also looking at the 48 car of Mark McFadden. He's taken some left front damage there. Brushed a wall at some point.
Very interesting color combination on that car. Is that a pumpkin?
Trying to point himself out, maybe. Get a little bit of screen time. And he has.
No, that's not a pumpkin. That's the actual word. Okay. If you see it from my angle, you'll know.
All right, Matt Gilder, coming out of pit lane, has fallen back to the 13th position. Got plenty of time on the car following him out of pit lane right now, and that's 270 of Jeremy Tester, who's out in 14th. The one car behind them is the 85 of Scott Kukas, just now crossing the end of pit lane, so he has a lot of time to catch up, or to make up to catch the 270 of Jeremy Tester, who just pitted.
Yeah. Looks like Gehringer's going to go around for another lap here. He's completing lap 11, so we have 80 laps or 70 laps to go. Right? Yeah, I'm doing math.
Math is hard.
Yeah.
Keeping a close eye on the 58 of Stephen Paulison, currently in the 12th position. Up in front of him, the 15 of Gary Nichols, trying to make up some time. Stephen started 10th on the grid, has actually lost 2 positions, and Gary up in front started 14th up to 11th. So they're meeting in the middle, and what they can do here as Gary Nichols making it through the corner here, slowing down clean enough. A lot of drivers losing themselves through those S's right there. There we go. Very clean pass, 58, Stephen Paulison, just letting him go. Gary Nichols will fall back to the 12th position here.
A lot of give and take with these guys out here. I mean, they all know that it's a long race, and right now we only have 15 cars left on the lead lap this early in the running. So a lot of guys know that it's a extremely long race.
Yeah, just cruising at this point, pretty much. Just cruising away, and a couple of guys just waiting to see what happens here. I know people like Chris Pence, who had to pit early on. We'll be waiting to see once everybody pits where he lands. Trying to make up as many positions as possible after having the damage he had early on using his one fast repair. So if he spins again or gets any more damage, he will be out of this race.
And Mark McFadden spinning out on the track right now by himself so far. It looks like he's safely getting back on there, but nope. Yeah, I think that thing's toast.
Yeah, on the front stretch, actually. On the stretch right after turn 1 before they get to turn 2. Interesting, he's spun himself there. I'm not quite sure what happened.
Yeah. Well, there's a he grinded on the wall too.
I think there has to been some disconnect because he was about halfway through that stretch there, that straightaway, and just completely veered towards the wall. We'll have to see what happened there, but either way, he'll have to tow back and use his one fast repair here.
Yeah, well, right where he lost it, there's a hill right there, and I guess the car got light, and he accidentally put a little bit of input into the car. He did have some left front damage beforehand. Could have been could have knocked a toe out of the car, and he just completely lost it.
Like the 39 seated on pit lane right now, also directly behind Mark there. Took a lot of heavy damage. Not quite sure what happened to them looking at it. Nope, just hit the wall coming up the mountain. Took a lot of damage. Had to tow back.
We're actually getting ready to it looks like, if it hasn't already happened, which I think it has. No, he's still coming down the mountain. Gehringer is actually going to catch up with the back of the field in the 85 of Scott Kukas here momentarily.
Yeah, Scott Kukas on the racetrack been able to keep his car relatively clean. Look, it looks a little dirty, but not bent out of shape. That is for sure. Unfortunately, just not able to keep up the speeds to be able to stay out front, but we'll see what happens here. Paul Gehringer still has not brought it into the pits.
And actually, the car in front of him, I believe that is Kukas, is going to bring it into pit lane. The 85 going to take his first service of the night. Very tricky pit lane to get into as well.
Yeah, and out in front of Paul Gehringer, the next driver he would run up on would be the 270 of Jeremy Tester up in the 13th position. He's currently going up the mountain right around turn 4, so we'll see him get out to a decent pace here. And again, still the 43 has to pit, and the 270 has already actually pit himself, so he'll be able to keep that lead at least for right now.
I was looking at a little bit of a battle here with Gary Nichols and Chris Pence. Chris just outside the top 10 right now.
Yeah,
reminder.
he's coming on. Pence has taken service to that 014, excuse me, and a little bit in the grass right there before heading into the fast right-hander. I mean, he's catching up on Nichols. Expect Nichols to just go ahead and let him go here. He's right on the bumper of him, and Pence is going to go to the right-hand side. Oh, okay, never mind.
Yeah, and Gary Nichols, he's still on old tires. He's got 14 laps in, and Chris has only got about 7 on those tires. So there, it looks like he's going to take it to the inside there.
Yeah, he pulls it off. Nichols backs off just enough for the 014 to get by and put Pence back into the top 10 for the first time since he came into pit earlier. Already working 30 minutes into this race, and we're only on lap 14.
And it looks like 9 out of the 19 drivers have pit thus far, so that leaves 10 to go. Still out there on old tires.
Yeah, and it looks like to me that Chris Pence, the next car he will run into will actually be the 48 of Mark McFadden, who just came off of pit lane after resetting and bending his car yet to get his one fast repair. He has received it, so he'll have to keep it clean for the rest of the race. But that will not be for position, as he is down 1 lap right now in the 15th position.
Yeah, he could see McFadden right now as they start their descent down the mountain. They love running that curb right there.
They don't mind hitting the curb, they just don't want to hit the wall. That's what they got to be careful of. Hey, well, we've got a almost battle going on. I've been watching this, and the 26 of Ernie Ludwig really wants to get to the 66 of Mike Taylor, and every now and then he gets close, but has since lost a little bit of ground. But these guys have been running relatively close to each other. Ernie Ludwig actually qualified 13th on the night and has made it all the way up to 6th so far.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think that is my cue to go ahead and roll over. I've got to go fly back to Eldora to go call a 360 sprint car race. So I will try to make it back here later on tonight. But as I sign out, we're going to go and pay some bills. You're watching the Pack Majors Bathurst 500 Sportsman Split here on OCTV.
Gallons per lap.
Pit stop, add 5 gallons, change right side only.
Hitbox in 10, 9, 8, 1. Bingo. 10-4, adding 5 gallons, changing right side tires.
Welcome back to the OCTV's coverage of the Bathurst 500 at Mount Panorama here for the Pack Majors. Seeing what these guys can do here tonight. It looks like right now we're going to go through the field, starting with our leader, the 43 of Paul Gehringer, easily putting a little bit of a whooping on the field right now. He is currently up by 16 seconds over second place, who is currently the 09 of Robert Laurent. Robert doing a good job of trying to keep pace here, easily beating the tail end of the field, but just can't quite make his way up to Paul. Paul putting down some very fast laps here. Roscoe, who do we have in third?
We have the number 9 of Kyle Murphy, and he is hot on the heels of Robert Laurent here and there. He's still about 2 seconds back now, But there's been a lot of excitement this race. Going back from there is Dan Garber in the number 8. He's got a lot of body damage, just like a lot of the other cars out on the track. They are all on about 16 laps of tires right now, half the field, and half the field are around about 5 laps on their tires. And going to 5th, who do we got there, Katie?
Yeah, we got the 66 of Mike Taylor, who's currently holding that spot over the 26 of Ernie Ludwig. Those two have been running together. They hold the 5th and 6th position on the track right now. They're actually catching up to the 8 of Dan Garber. I'm not quite sure what happened there, made up a little bit of time. But those 3 drivers running together, as back in 7th is the 59 of Mark Redeker. And he has a driver in front of him that's actually not for position, running right behind Jared Morgan. He's got to be careful. Jared Morgan is actually down 5 laps right now. He went on pit lane and could not quite get his car fixed. For some reason, there's a little bit of mishap. So unfortunately, Jared Morgan, after having a great qualifying lap, he is all the way back to 16th. But back behind Mark Redeker for position, we have the 58 of Stephen Paulison in the 9th spot. Currently 1 minute and 11 seconds behind our leader right now. Really not able to catch up with the person in front of him, as Mark Redeker is about, give or take, 9 seconds out in front of Stephen Paulison. And Roscoe, I believe you have 10th and 11th place.
Yeah, we've got Chris Pence out there, who early on had a major incident. He started out in 3rd place, and now he's working his way back up into the top 10. Behind him is Gary Nichols, who also has had a few little bumps and bruises on the way. He's been falling back slowly, but hopefully he can hold on to that 10th place position.
Yeah, the driver he just passed on track as we were watching him there, he actually passed I believe it was the 85 of Scott Kukas. It is not for position. Scott currently in the 14th position. Before we get there, we're going to look at the 69 of Matt Gelder in 12th, running behind the 15 of Gary Nichols. He's trying to catch him. It's only about a second, give or take 2 seconds. Second and a half back from Gary Nichols right now. Back behind them, the 270 of Jeremy Tester in 13th. He's actually the last driver on the lead lap right now, almost 2 minutes behind our leader, really losing some time. But he has made his pit stop, as have a couple of guys in front of him. So they're going to be able to catch up a little bit to our leader, because again, about the top 7 or 8 drivers have not stopped yet. In fact, one of the drivers that came in while we were running through the field is the 8 car of Dan Garber, up in 6th. Actually just got ran up on the back. It looks like it's the 69, possibly. I believe that is the 69 of Matt Gelder. It is. We've run through the field of people on the lead lap, but currently 1 lap down is the 48 of Mark McFadden in 14th. The 85 of Scott Kukas in 15th, 5 laps down. 96 of Jared Morgan, 6 laps down. 39 of Stacy Hunter. 7 laps down and officially out of the race is the 06 of Tom Drilling, and 14 laps down out of the race right now is the 18 of Seth Alberts, last on the track.
And we got a nice heated battle here between the 66 of Mike Taylor and the 26 of Ernie Ludwig. Ludwig just pounding right behind him. He is coming up close there, hard on the brakes. It looks like he's really looking for a spot to get by him.
Yeah, Ludwig has been trying to size him up for quite a few laps now, but the 66 of Mike Taylor has just been able to beat him a little bit every lap, especially right as they come down to the last few corners. Ernie just not quite able to get there, and they both do have to pit here, so we'll see if Ernie can maybe make up some time in pit lane, but they're both about 50 seconds behind our leader, so they won't be making up a lot of time on him. But either way, they're going to try to fight for every position they can. Looking back, I want to highlight again the 8 of Dan Garber, who actually pitted as you're running through the field. I mentioned him once, but I want to go back to him because he's since then gained a spot, as he is right now in 10th position. Was running with the 69 of Matt Gelder, was able to keep that position. Looking up in front of him, they're going to try and size up the 15 of Gary Nichols, who's going out of turn 1.
Taking a look at Paul Gehringer again, he is just got smooth sailing up there, laying down those consistent laps. He has 18 laps on those tires, and he goes past the pit lane entrance, so he's going to run another one with those tires.
Yeah, we've had our front runners pit anywhere from 7 to 14 laps. Haven't had people pit in the last few laps here, but yeah, 18 laps on those tires. That is a lot of laps on those tires. We'll see when he decides to pit. He'll probably bring the back into the field with him as they're waiting, I think, to see what he does. But either way, Paul Gehringer really dominating this race right now. His times have slipped a little as they fall into 2 minutes and 12 seconds a lap. Qualified with a time of 2 minutes 11 seconds for qualifying on the grid first, getting that pole position. So since then has lost a little bit of time, but I think that might happen because of those 18 laps on those tires. We'll see what he can do when he gets some freshies on there.
Oh yeah, and I mean, over that many laps and you're only dropping about a second, that's really not that bad.
No, that's impressive, especially if you compare that to the field, who again having some issues. But either way, we're going to drop back to second place here. Give a little bit of airtime to the 09 of Robert Laurent. Still about 16 seconds back. Not losing much right now. He's been running almost laps equal to the leader. In fact, we were watching the battle as he made his way from fourth to now second. And I start to wonder what would have happened if he started right behind Paul Gehringer and didn't have to make his way through a couple of drivers, including Chris Pence and Kyle Murphy. You wonder what might have happened, but either way, Robert Laurent still running second, solidly in second, I might add, back behind him, the 9 of Kyle Murphy.
Exactly, and Laurent still has a relatively clean car. It looks like there's just a little bit of side skirt damage, but it's nothing major. And even let's take a look at Kyle Murphy there. His also relatively clean, and these guys have been going through some stuff and running really close to each other, going through and passing other drivers. So getting them in the second and third here with clean cars, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, Paul Gehringer coming across the line has decided to not pit again, so he'll continue going around this track as he is going to start lap 20 of 81 here. Still a long way to go. Long way to go on this track. Every lap about 2 minutes and 12 seconds now. Really, it's going to be a slowly evolving race here, and you're probably only going to pick up a position every now and then if someone were to have a little bit of a mishap. We've gotten to the point where they are so spread out. Maybe 1 or 2 cars are around each other, but one of the cars that was running with someone has decided to pit, and that's the second place driver of Robert Laurent bringing into the pits here. He's going to have his first stop of the evening. See what kind of time he can put down. We'll watch him as he's got to completely refuel that car, which takes a little while on this track.
Yeah, exactly. And I kind of doing the math there. Paul is setting himself up for a three stops for this race. He can stop around 40 and should be after 60, right around in there. If he keeps that consistency up, he only has to stop 3 times this race. So, and it looks like most everybody else is pitting a lot sooner than that.
Yeah, well, really, and most likely because of just the tire wear. A lot of guys, especially in the back, not quite able to keep up with Paul's times. I mean, Gehringer is just absolutely tearing those times up on track. We're watching as the 09 of Robert Laurent now coming out of pit lane here. Just looks like he's just now getting, almost barely got passed by the 59. He was trying to decide whether he wanted to let Mark Redeker go. Luckily he did. There was no accident there. That's nice to see as Mark's going to move into the 5th position there. Robert had a 42-second stop there, and that's how long it takes to refuel those cars. So it's not surprising to see him lose positions. We'll see what happens when everyone in front of him still has to stop.
Yeah, it looks like Paul Gehringer, he's going another lap around there. We're going to see how far these tires and this fuel is going to make it. I guess he doesn't want one of those 40-second pit stops.
Yeah, he wants to hang out with his crew a little bit longer than that. That's not enough time for him. He likes to spend a little
Get a
time
nice
with his
drink
big crew.
then. Jeez. He's gonna have
But I
enough
mean,
time
it's
to.
not as if he doesn't have the time to waste. He had 16 seconds, 16 seconds back to second place when second place decided to pit. And speaking of the new second place driver, Kyle Murphy has taken it into the pit lane.
Oh yeah, so that's going to make an even larger gap between these drivers. I mean, he's setting himself up pretty good, just as long as he stays clean. The bad thing about him staying out there so long, other than being on old tires, is him catching the field more and more.
Yeah, and about halfway through Kyle Murphy's pit stop, he just got passed for second position by Mike Taylor, who is also still not pitted as well. So Mike Taylor about 56 seconds behind our leader right now, which means Paul Gehringer would easily be able to pit and not lose a position here. It's very impressive. Yeah, worth mentioning, it looks like the 9 of Kyle Murphy. Very short pit stop compared to Robert Laurent. Robert's pit stop was about 6 seconds longer. Maybe Robert having some damage to fix, as Kyle's was a little bit shorter. Keep an eye on that, as Kyle did come out seconds up in front of Robert Laurent.
Couple other drivers out there that are still on 20 plus laps is the number 58 of Stephen Paulson and the 59 of Mark Rediger. So there's 4 drivers out there right now on 21 lap tires.
Yeah, really starting to see the difference of those tires, really. And it's funny because, we say that, and then I'm looking at the speed chart, and Paul Gehringer just put down another 2-minute 11-second lap. So I think Paul's playing around a little bit. He'll do whatever kind of lap speed he wants here. I mean, he's got plenty of room to play with, so it's not surprising.
Yeah, and there's that lap traffic right in front of him.
Yeah, jumping up, that is the 48 of Mark McFadden. A reminder, Mark McFadden is already 1 lap down. He had a spin down there after turn 1 on that long straightaway. So he has pitted, but still 1 lap down. This would put him 2 laps down now. Oh, got a little, yeah. Went a little bit wide there. Oh, there we go. Almost completely pulls over for our leader. That's good to see, at least.
Yeah.
And I'm reviewing the tape, and it almost looks like Paul Gehringer was so close to the wall there as he saw the 48 go off track, but he didn't. Paul Gehringer still clean coming down the mountain here.
Yeah, it looks like the 58 went in to pit and the 59. Yeah, it looks like we have all drivers have entered the pits except for the number 43 of Paul Gehringer.
And Paul Gehringer still making his way past pit lane, not deciding to bring it in. I do see someone coming off of pit lane right in front of him. That is the 66 of Mike Taylor, who was, if I'm correct, was the second place driver for when he first pitted. 43-second stop.
And he gets a little squirrely
just
there.
In front. Yeah, he came out just in front of Paul Gehringer too.
Yeah, and his car doesn't look like they did any work on it in there with such a long pit stop, so.
Yeah, we'll have to keep in mind that the later these guys pit, the longer that stop will be. I really expect if Paul keeps continuing to put down laps, I mean, Paul's going to start breaking into the 52nd bracket on pit stop times if he continues to go the way he's going.
Right. And you know, I was more figuring on the pit windows for fuel. But it looks to me that everybody hit it on tires because Paul apparently has plenty of fuel. And still putting down 211s, 212s.
Yeah, which is insane. You know, we said one lap he's 211, one lap he's 213. Across the line that last time by was 213. I mean, you know, it's oh, got a car in front of him. Very slow. Sorry about that. That is still
Yeah,
the
that's
66 of Mike Taylor.
Yeah, and I think that's the only reason he ran that 213 is he was just trying to stay safe behind the 66 of Mike Taylor there.
Yeah, now again, Mike pitted from the second position, was running about fifth, realistically. But a couple of drivers in front of him had pitted, so that is why Mike had made his way up to second. A reminder, Paul, as we keep saying, still has to pit, so a couple of drivers will earn this lap back when Paul decides to come in. So they're probably not panicking as much as you might think. We'll see what these guys actually end up in. Here we go.
There he goes.
Mark it in the books. Finally, Paul Gehringer has to come in for fuel. Has run 23 completed laps tonight so far. Coming across the line to start the 24th lap. And 77 seconds was the last gap we had gotten. Back to the 9 of Kyle Murphy, who was running in the second position. Paul Gehringer will absolutely come out in front of Kyle Murphy here. We'll have to see how long his pit stop is, but he absolutely should come out in front of Kyle.
Yeah, he's just about heading out of the corkscrew going into that long back straight.
We'll see what kind of times everyone's set up with here. About 24 seconds into the pit stop. You'll see drivers passing him on the track. Those are obviously not for positions, as he was leading this race when he came in, and those guys are just now making their laps back. There we go, off the track with a 43-second pit stop. Paul Gehringer easily going to make it back before second place gets here. Second now just across the line. He will head into turn one. Have to see what kind of time he put down, see what kind of time he got down to, should say.
That last lap he ran about a 212. The one before that was a 211.
And while we look at that, I do want to introduce a new person to the booth, and that is our own Donovan Johns. How you doing there?
Doing well. It's a long flight to get down here. Missed a plane connection, so just got in and ready to watch some racing.
That's good to hear. Well, catching you back up as well as our viewers for anyone that's just tuning in. Paul Gehringer out in the lead right now, has been dominating this race so far, has led every single lap, and yes, he pitted and still led every single lap, so that is the kind of run he's been putting down. Back in second currently is the 9 of Kyle Murphy, and he earned that position over the 09 of Robert Laurent on pit lane. For some reason, we believe to possibly repair some damage, or Kyle not completely filling up his car. We'll have to ask him at the end of this race, but either way, Kyle has made up a position now up in second, and as I just mentioned, the 09 of Robert Laurent in third.
Yeah, and our driver 014, that's Chris Pence, he is on the oldest tires right now, and he is up in the top 5. He is currently in 4th place ahead of Dan Garber in 5th in the 08 car.
And going up the mountain here, looking at a little bit of a battle going almost right back to it. The 26 of Ernie Ludwig has actually made his way past the 66 of Mike Taylor. Ernie now looking to pass the 270 of Jeremy Tester going up through the mountain here.
That's such a wild ride going down through those corkscrews.
It really is.
Yeah.
You got to be very careful, very careful. We've seen drivers we've seen drivers spin out, going up the mountain, coming down the mountain, coming through a front stretch. We've seen them spin all over the place. I don't think there's any one part of the track that you can really kind of put on a little bit of autopilot.
No, I would say the Bathurst for me is my least favorite track to race on, only because there is no place at all to stop and take a break while driving.
Oh no, you're
Yeah,
up on that
it's-
wheel the entire time.
Yeah, all 2
Especially
minutes
driving these.
of that, all 2 minutes of that lap on this almost 4-mile track is just pure momentum trying to carry through all of these turns and twists around this mountain. I mean, this is definitely one of the hardest tracks to get a handle on, and we see it. I mean, out of this entire field, really the only one that's able to put a whooping on the track, so to say, is the 43 of Paul Gehringer. Also worth mentioning that now that we have gotten back down to the entire field completing their pit stops, worth mentioning the 09 of Robert Laurent was 16 seconds back of Paul Gehringer when he pitted. That position has now changed. Second has fallen to the 9 of Kyle Murphy. A reminder, Kyle Murphy's stop was 6 seconds faster than the 09 of Robert Laurent, and Kyle Murphy is now 13
the
seconds back of our
69.
leader.
Sorry, Kate. The 69 hard into the wall right there.
Oh,
and
yeah,
he's gonna
Matt
hit
Gilder.
it again.
In the middle of the track. Oh,
Yeah, Matt
15
Gilder
going
just barely
by.
get that around.
yeah, he's got to be very careful here.
Yeah, losing some positions on that. Wow.
That is a position behind him, by the way, that 270. Oh, is he? Oh, got to be careful here. Going off the track, trying to stay out of the way. And there we go. He's going to lose another spot to the 270 of Jeremy Tester. And, of course,
And Ernie
26.
Ludwig.
Ernie Ludwig, absolutely. Unfortunately, Matt Gilder really got to be careful here. He took a lot of damage in that spin, especially on the left front there. We'll see if he decides to pit to repair, but woo, that was a heavy hit to his front end. Looks to me like Ernie Ludwig, still trying to do his best to catch that 270. Not quite able to do it. Is about the same distance back as when we had first covered that battle. Going down to the final turn here. They're making their way across the start-finish line in just a little bit. 69 will bring it into the pits here. Matt Gelder really going to have to repair that damage. We'll see. I do believe he has his fast repair. They all get one fast repair here. He has not used his yet. We'll see him make his way to the pit stall. And hopefully he didn't have that checked when he first pitted for fuel, or that would have automatically been taken. So we'll see here what happens.
Yeah, and that would be a tough break for him because he's been running pretty strong. He started out, I believe, 7th or 9th when he started the race, and worked his. And he looks like he's got his fast repair, so he's good to go to come back out on the track.
I believe he's going to go ahead and take the opportunity to fill up his fuel tank as well. Lap 26 of 81. He is currently on the lead lap for the time being. Oh, wait. A little bit of a drop there. Sorry, guys. We're going to change to someone else as he has to get his internet connection back up to speed.
Yeah, Matt's connection to the internet right now into the game server, he is having some issues there. And there were some comments earlier from some of the crews and spotters about an occasional blipping out for him, so hopefully we'll get that addressed.
Yeah, I want to remind you guys, overall right now, we have 12 drivers. 12 of the 19 that started the race here tonight, 12 of them are on the lead lap. The last driver currently a minute and a half, about a minute 28 behind our leader, is the 59 of Mark Redeker in the 12th position. Want to note he's following about give or take a second and a half up in front of him. The 58 of Stephen Paulison. Stephen Paulison actually qualified 10th on the night, has lost a position since. So has the 59, qualified 11th, lost 1-2-12. Those drivers trying to make up some ground right now, and of course the driver in front of them is the 69 of Matt Gilder, who is still on the pit lane, I believe. Looking at his pit stop, Matt Gilder is on almost 2-minute pit stop already.
And Mark Redeker, just mentioned him a moment ago, he just took a big old grass clippings race off to the side, able to reel it back in, and now he's back on track and coming around the front stretch to the start-finish line.
Yeah, unfortunately, he's going to have to get that car back under him. Hopefully it doesn't go off again. He's still got plenty of time to make up right now.
What is the incident cap for the gentlemen, for the racers today?
65 incident cap. They've got quite a bit of room to go.
I don't know. I don't think I'd make it halfway.
No, I don't think I would either, but yeah, still. Oh, sorry, watching the 270 get a little loose, smack the wall.
Yeah, exactly. And to mention, Jeremy and Ernie both started out 12th and 13th, are still fighting it out 7th and 8th right now.
Yeah, it looks like trying to see who's up in front of him. I believe that is the 15 of Gary Nichols. Again, this is not for position. Gary finds himself in the 12th position right now as Matt Gilder lost, so now there's now 11 drivers on the lead lap. The 15 of Gary Nichols, although they don't have it in road course, could be considered in the lucky dog position. The first driver, 1 lap down right now, is trying to stay out in front of the 270. Again, not in 4th position, as Gary's just trying to cruise and try not to lose any more time to our leader.
And Ernie Ludwig right behind him. He's in 8th, just a few seconds right back from the 270. You know, he's waiting. He's hoping that Gary slows him down just a hair and gives an opportunity for Ludwig to get around.
Yeah, looking through the field right now, we had someone just enter pit lane. That was the 96 of Jared Morgan after going back on track. Looks to me like he is 5 laps down right now, so he's got a long way to go before he picks up any positions. The car in front of him would be the 85 of Scott Kukas, who is 2 laps down. So Jared Morgan here would have to hope that Paul can lap Scott Kukas a little bit more, because Jared Morgan, after coming into the pits once again, has lost so much time this race.
And it looks like the 270 and the 26 are roughly running about a second faster than the 15 of Gary Nichols. So they're going to catch him here quite quickly. And I'm wondering how they're going to make it past him, if he's going to move out of the way. It just depends on where they're at on this crazy track, if he has room to move.
Yeah, and that's it. With this track, you get walls everywhere. The best thing you can do is just hold what you can just off the race groove, let these guys work around, because you've got 7th and 8th, and right behind them, closing up the gap pretty quick, is Mike Taylor. He's looking to come in here as well.
Yeah, and he's running a second faster than 7th and 8th, so...
Yeah, he's closing distance fast. And Ludwig, right coming up to the start. Sorry, it looked like Gary Nichols had a bad spot there, but no, he just pulled over and let these guys come over. Nichols came to a complete stop, just coming past the hill here, letting 7th and 8th take off, and it looks like is Taylor catching up to him yet? Yep, yeah, Taylor's going to catch him and get him on this downhill swing. Look at that speed overtake. Woo! I love coming down this mountain.
Oh, that was a little spooky there. Gary Nichols getting into the grass down there with that high rate of speed. That could have easily been a lot uglier.
Yeah, now Taylor, he's got a full head of steam. He is looking for Young and for Testar just up in front of, or excuse me, Testar and Ludwig just up ahead of them, and he's going to close that gap. We'll keep our eyes on this, make sure, see what he can do to close up that 6-second gap that he's got, and let you guys know. And also, just behind him, notice Paulison's gaining as well. we've got almost a 4-car battle here, all within a few seconds. Yeah, we are looking out of the window of Mike Taylor in that 66, trying to catch his view while he's running down Ludwig and Testar. He does have the faster car and is slowly bringing him in.
Yeah, and that's surprising too, because I mean he's got a lot of heavy damage on that car.
He's already shaved off almost half a second just in this. Whoa, Moon Doggy. Keep them all underneath you.
Sorry about that, gentlemen. You know, I'm just getting back to the booth, and can you believe it? They ran out of cheese fries. I swear, every time. All right, looking up at the lead. Still, the 43 of Paul Gehringer. That the fastest lap of the race right now at 2:11.197 on the race. This is this is incredible speeds right now. I mean, he has been whooping these guys pretty much all race, and really no one quite able to keep up with him. We thought for a moment the 09 of Robert Laurent might be able to do it, but not quite. Now in second, Kyle Murphy losing time to him as well.
I was kind of watching around in the blimp here and kept my eye on Laurent for this moment. He did play a little pinball action just coming up the mountain and took a little damage on the front end, just bounced back and forth real quick. But his speed has not dramatically dropped from it, so good for him.
I think he was craving a little rubbing his racing going on, because he's been on his own for the majority of this race. I mean, he's encountered people, but really only lap down drivers have really been around him since the start. And of course, he has continued to lead every single lap. 29 completed so far on lap 30, as he will be making his way down the mountain to complete lap 30 here. Still 51 laps to go.
And just in front of Gehringer, he is looking at the back of Mark McFadden's car. McFadden already 1 lap down. He's looking to fall 2 laps down. Looking to fall 3rd.
Yeah, and fortunately for him, it's just not really sizing up right now. Can't quite get the speeds down, especially after he spun. He had to come in. He had to tow back to the pit lane, which of course on this track took quite a bit of time. And not only that, but he spun after turn 1. He spun after turn 1, which means his tow was incredibly long, and that in itself took forever. And that's really how he lost his first lap. And of course, Paul Gehringer coming around turn 1, following him through, gonna lap him again one more time.
And you can't help but feel for these wounded warriors as they're driving around this track. Fenders missing, beat up front ends, beat up tail ends. Just a whole lot of sadness in that sheet metal department.
Yeah, and it looks to me we have someone that just came into the pits. I believe it's the 21 of Adam Young right now. Still sitting there. Looking back to see what lap he came in. This past time. Just got to his box. Long pit stop on his part, up to 70 seconds. Incredibly long pit stop here. We'll have to catch back up to him, but in the meantime, drivers getting past him include the 270 of Jeremy Tester and the 26 of Ernie Ludwig, who's still keeping 270 in sight. Back behind them, Mike Taylor, trying to make up as much time. He's about 4 seconds behind Ernie. Can see them on the track as they're coming down the mountain and through these turns, coming down to the last corner.
Oh, okay, he's pitting. I was going to say, man, Ludwig made a huge gain on Tester, but Tester is right now pulling into the pits. He's given up 6th place. Ernie Ludwig has that. Mike Taylor is going to take 7th place from Tester, and Tester is looking for some service.
Yeah, and taking a look at taking a look at some of these lap times, going back to Chris Pence. He's on the oldest tires. He's got 24 laps in. He's presently in 4th place. He's the 014 car. His lap pace, though, is about 3 seconds off from the 5th, 6th, and 7th drivers. And it's over, 6 seconds slower than 3rd place. So depending on how this might play out, 5th, 6th, and 7th may catch him.
Yeah, the last time Chris Pence was on pit lane was lap 7. Lap 7.
Oh, he's
That
got to
many
be
laps
hate.
ago was when our leader pit. So, I mean, he's got so many laps on his tires. Sooner or later, he will have to bring it in relatively soon. Taking a look at these guys coming up through the field. The 8 of Dan Garber back behind Pence on his own right now.
What do you use
Not
to see
really,
the
not
tire
really close to
age?
anyone. I mean, he can sometimes see Chris Pence up ahead. If it's
Is that
on a long
IRTVO?
straightaway like he is right now, he can see him all the way up this little hill. So he's about to go over the crest here. And unfortunately, just not quite able to catch him. He can see him, just not quite able to get there. No, I do want to give. I do want to give a shout out to the 96 of Jared Morgan. Currently 5 laps down right now. Started in the 2nd position on the grid. We detailed what happened. He came in to repair some damage. Didn't select his fast repair, and I believe he got caught on pit lane there. And a little bit of a bug, and that's how he really lost his laps.
Well, that's horrible, but hats off to Jared since we got him on the highlight. Jared has just sealed up his 3rd Ironman, which means he's made every start of the Pacific Majors for the last several seasons. Congratulations to Jared Morgan on yet another Ironman award.
Yeah, really, really good to see. It's a good award to win for sure. Nice to see him come out and compete. Still not giving up this race. I mean, drivers could still wreck, still go out. He could still make positions up. It's definitely not over for him. As we now switch over on the counter to 50 laps to go here. Paul Gehringer coming down will move to 49 to go as he's got a few corners to complete here.
And we're popping back over. I'm looking at the 66 of Mike Taylor. Mike has closed the gap up to Ernie Lugwood. He was 5-6 seconds back when we first kind of commented him a few laps ago. He is now only 2.6 seconds behind Ernie. It's a battle for 5th and 6th place. He's reeling him in. He will take that heavily abused car, try to get another position, and try to get a win out of this. Well, probably maybe not a win, but it's a long race still.
His but a scratch.
It's a flesh wound.
No, he'll make his way qualified 8th on tonight. So up to 7th, has gained his 1 position. And of course, like you just mentioned, still within shot of a couple of guys here tonight. And of course, with this heavy complicated track here, anything could happen. For all we know, Paul Gehringer could, lose focus for a minute, and the picture of this race completely changes. But for now, Paul just putting down some crazy times. He lost about 2 seconds last lap, but I believe that was because he was running up on some people. He wanted to be very, very careful. And because of that, he ran about 2-minute, 15-second lap. Has already come back around to put down a time of 2:11. So back down to his fast speeds here.
We are looking to see if there's any battles, something interesting to show you all guys at home as you watch the Pacific Majors doing some racing down under.
Yeah, that's a little bit better than the way Wes might have said it. He was trying to do an accent early on with Australia and didn't quite work there. So, hey, you know what?
That's
You've
way
got
too
something
much.
going for you.
Oh,
Just
shoot,
eat a Vegemite sandwich.
Vegemite, yeah.
Well, let's not insult the people that are letting us in their booth, okay? Let's we want to make it to the end of this race, guys. But yeah, right now I'm watching. You can really see the difference in speeds here when you look at someone like the 9 of Kyle Murphy, who has had a relatively easy race so far. He's gotten a little loose every now and then, but has been able to steer clear of a lot of gain a lot of heavy damage. But up in front of him, Mark McFadden has almost had the exact different type of race. Mark has already lost his 2nd lap just trying to stay clean for now, but really, really not able to keep up speeds with someone like Kyle Murphy. Ooh, that car is damaged. Looking at the 48 of Mark McFadden, and I'm looking around that entire car, and that poor baby is just it's gonna need a massage.
Oh, and we got Matt Gelder slamming into the wall, the number 69.
Not again.
Right in front of. Was that?
That was Chris Pence. That was the 014
That
of
was
Chris
nasty.
Pence.
Yes, yes, it was. That was nasty.
Well, it's still going off track here. He's gonna get into the sand trap, but he's gonna tow back. I think he's gonna call that a night, as he did use his fast repair. Keep a close eye on what he decides to do, but he is currently down a lap. We'll see where that puts him. Taking a look back on track. Still want to mention Mike Taylor, still following Ernie Ludwig across the line here. See what the gap is back to Mike, and it is about second and a half here. Guys trying to keep it relatively close. Mike still with a chance to get a top 5 here. Everyone will, of course, have to make at least one more stop.
I would expect them to make at least one, if not 2, because these tires are just getting shot.
You know, I would say that, but at this point, I'm not assuming anything with Paul Gehringer.
Okay, well, Paul probably
so
only
you know,
has
I don't want to include
one
him
stop
in
left.
everyone's.
No.
Yeah, this is kind of Paul's in his own little world right now, and you know, we look at the speed chart and we look at the leaderboard, and Kyle Murphy is currently 19 seconds back, and you say, oh, 19 seconds, that's not so bad. Then you look back to third, and 65 seconds back from our leader is the 8 of Dan Garber. So he really is putting down some crazy times right now. Ooh, watch the 66 lose a little bit of traction there, but yeah, these guys just trying to hold their own right now.
Yeah, I have lost word. Kyle Murphy's best lap is still a second and a half off pace from Paul Gehringer's best lap. That is.
I believe that was the 8 of Dan Garber you were referring to.
Yeah. Kyle Murphy, he's second, a third off. About a second off.
Yeah, he's trying to keep up as well. But we want to give a shout out to Roscoe in the booth. We know you got to head out, family calls, but thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Roscoe.
Oh, yes. Thank you very much for having me. I've had a blast here. This is so exciting. Love these cars. Love the service of iRacing. I love what the Pack Majors is doing and everything. Been a huge fan of that and Off Camber TV. Just thank you guys very much. Been a lot of fun. Duty does call, so I must go. Have a great race. See you guys next time.
Yeah, much appreciated. Wish Roscoe well. As looks like it's just you and me now, Donovan. Sorry.
It's just you
Unfortunate
and
for
I,
you.
babe.
Yep, this is what we're gonna have to do for the rest of the race. Right now, 47 laps to go here as we work our way around. These guys just doing their best right now, trying to stick to it. Really just trying to see what kind of times they can put down, a couple of them. So battling as we got to pass the 66 of Mike Taylor, making his way past Ernie Ludwig there. Mike finally able to make that pass and up the mountain of all places.
Yeah,
very
clean
nice.
pass.
Very well done.
Now Taylor able to stretch out his legs and go take himself for a little stroll around a hill.
Yep. And he's got a little ways to go to the next driver. If I'm correct, I believe the next driver he will encounter would be the 09 of Robert Laurent, who has lost a lap since we last covered him. He lost a spot to the 8 of Dan Garber. So we're going to have to keep an eye on Robert Laurent, who you can see right now on track is going into the final turns of this racetrack on that long straightaway over the hill. Looking up in front of him, who's that? That is the 8 of Dan Garber. We'll see these guys. Oh, little slip and slide there from the 09. Robert Laurent trying to keep it clean. He'll be going into the final turn. And, of course, Mike Taylor, we had just mentioned, he's just now coming down to these final turns through the S's here. So, yeah, it's got a little ways to go to catch up to the next position. Mike Taylor does, but a very nice pass on Ernie Ludwig.
Ludwig, yeah, yeah.
Nonetheless.
And just while we're watching and commentating on the space differences, Mike Taylor has shaved a 1.5 seconds off of his time up to Robert. So at this pacing, give him another 10 laps, maybe. He should have that distance nicely closed up.
Yeah, give or take. It'll be nice to see. Ran about 0.5 second better than the 09 there. So worth watching, and we'll have to keep an eye on that. And it does look to me like Paul Gehringer has really started to close up on this field. He just making his way down to the last turn, and the next driver he'll encounter putting them down a lap would be the 014 of Chris Pence. Chris's last stop was a 30-second stop. It was but 3 laps ago. So Chris has come down pit lane. Paul will have to come down again. So even if Chris does get lapped, he'll still have time to make up once Paul comes in. Looking at Chris Pence up in front of him. The next car he'll encounter is for position. That'll be the 59 of Mark Redeker, as he is making his way to the apex of the mountain here. See what he can do. He's had his own troubles throughout this evening, but luckily his car is clean and sitting in the 8th position right now, about 7 seconds back of the 58 of Stephen Paulson.
And Pence sitting about 4.5 seconds or so back behind Pence, trying to close that up and make a little battle between he and Paulson. Maybe able to bring a little life to the show here, while all the while running away from Paul Gehringer or getting reeled in by.
Yeah, speaking of getting reeled in, looking at the lap times right now, both these guys coming across the line. The 8 of Dan Garber had just put a time down of 2:13. Not a second back is the 09 of Robert Laurent, who came across the line with a time of 2:11. Incredible lap that last time by the 09, easily catching up with the 8 there.
It's got to be that really cool spacey paint job.
It's got to be. That's got to be it. I can't possibly think of any other reason the 09 would be catching the 8 there. Yeah, absolutely.
What's that? The old demon from Thor is out on the front there.
Well, it could also be the fact that the 09 pitted not 5 laps ago.
Yeah,
the 09 has fresh tires. And the 8, the last time the 8 pitted, from looking at the chart here, he took a time of stop of 31 seconds, which is quite shorter than the first stops of everyone else. So he may not be able to go too much longer here. We'll see what happens. I wonder if he's going to maybe give up this spot and not challenge the 09, not waste any time.
And when you've got a car who's obviously that much faster than you are, it's inevitable. Don't upset the guy behind you. Just go ahead and let them get that pass by cleanly, and then you can just keep running your race. And ooh, there we go. Speaking of which, nice little move over.
Yeah, that was the 85 of Scott Kugas, letting those guys compete. And I was mentioning Dan Garber. Looked up on the speed chart here. Looked up on the leaderboard 20 laps ago. 20 laps was the last time Dan Garber was on pit lane. So even if he doesn't come in the next lap or two, he'll have to come in relatively soon. So yeah, we'll see if he really decides to give up this spot. I can't imagine he's going to have to battle him too much, as again, Dan will have to pit.
Yep, Laurent is up on that bumper. He is looking for a place to come around and be patient, but he's got to be getting around here. As we're coming up to the start-finish line and going to start 43 laps or 44 laps to go for these guys.
Yeah, 44 laps to go. We're going to ride on board with the 09 of Robert Laurent, give you guys a good view of this battle coming up. And Dan Garber not quite able to put down a fast lap. Robert was almost exactly a second faster that last time by. We saw him get very close, very, very close. We'll see what he can do here. Easily has the best tires. This is for third on the track, so it is worth battling for. But with Robert being so much faster, I can't imagine it'll be a long battle.
These walls are so tight, you could barely fit two of these guys under slow conditions. Trying to get these guys at 100 miles an hour to go by one another. Oh, it's just, my heart's racing just watching these guys.
Yeah, these these cars are a little tricky on this track. Imagine, something like a NASCAR,
Right?
a race car on a track like this. I mean, it's crazy how narrow this track is, and it really shows these guys doing a great job of holding these cars on this track so far. I mean, we've had a couple of wrecks, a couple of spins, but a lot of these guys, about half of these guys, able to keep them clean.
Dan is just trying to negotiate these corners coming down the hill while not giving up the spot. He is not going to make it easy for Robert to get by him. That 09 dropped a little bit of space here. He's going to be at a head of steam coming down the mountain and try to make another approach.
Yeah, and just to let you guys know, we have had guys come into the pit throughout this this little battle that we've been watching, but most of them have been a lap down and are having relatively short stops. So we will do a run through for you guys once everyone comes down pit lane. But for now, it looks like the 8's going to duck down.
Yep, Dan Garber just going to go ahead and give it up. He is bringing it into the pits. He's going to get his tires and try to re-attack Robert Laurent to get that spot back.
Yeah, he's going to have a long way to go, as Robert Laurent again has made his last pit stop here. He's still got his most recent pit stop, I should say, not his last. He'll have to pit again before the end of this race. It'll be a relatively short stop, but they're definitely going to want to pit for tires here and a little bit of fuel. We're going to go back to our leader here.
Garber overshot his pit box, had to back it up.
Yep. Got to be careful there. Looking up to Paul Gehringer right now. Going through these turns. He's got a couple of lead lap drivers right in front of him, trying to put them down a lap. As it looks like Gary Nichols. Gary Nichols, who's a couple laps down, going down a lap. As Paul comes across the line, it looks like he's going to try to put even more drivers down a lap. Looking at the 59 of Mark Redeker and the 014 of Chris Pence right in front of our leader. And just now, the 8 of Dan Garber coming off of pit lane. So he will be that entire straightaway behind our leader.
Yeah, it's almost a 44-second stop for Garber. He lost a lot of positions there. And it's going to take a battle to come up and get some spots back.
Yeah, absolutely. But again, of course, everyone else has to stop. We'll have to see what kind of times they can put down, how long they're going to make their pit stops. But we'll have to see if Mark Redeker decides to bring it in soon, put on some fresh tires. We know that chances of Paul Gehringer passing him are relatively high. We'll have to see if he can earn that lap back once Paul comes into the pits.
I'm watching Pence and Redeker coming down the hill right in front of Gehringer, just trying to do their best, keep their lap times. Gehringer just right up on that bumper coming through these curves.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is worth mentioning the 59 and 014 are 4 positions. That 43 now lapping the 59, but that 59 is trying to keep up with the 014 for a spot. The 014 next on Paul Gehringer's list to lap. In the 7th position right now means 7 drivers. 7 drivers on the lead lap out of the 19 that started. We have a couple of drivers that are not currently active right now. Only one has officially retired from the race. That is the 06 of Tom Drilling. Still got a couple on pit lane.
Oh, Gary Nichols.
You have to assume it's trying to repair.
Gary Nichols looks like he just went back to his trailer and called it a day.
Gary Nichols, that makes him the second driver to go out, as I just mentioned. Oh, sorry. Watching the 09 of Robert Laurent just tail in, smack the wall there, got a little loose. Coming towards the top of the mountain here. He starts his descent. See if he can keep that car under him. Still working on the third position right now, as he's behind the 9 of Kyle Murphy coming across the line. He's about 25 seconds behind our leader. We've got 41 laps to go here. We watch these guys go across the track. Approaching halfway. See what they can do.
Yeah, I think we're right about halfway now, if not one lap over, with 81 total laps.
Yeah, it's about 40.5 technically, if you had to split it right down the middle.
You know,
so
got a couple
we're
extra miles
directly on it. If if you had to think Paul Gehringer, top of the mountain, the way you do that
there
math.
you go. Yeah.
But yeah, with it being at halfway, we're going to throw you guys to a commercial, and we'll be back on the other side of this race.
Adding 5 gallons, changing right side tires.
Hi guys, I'm Scott Speed, driver of this amazing Volkswagen Beetle GRC car. And I got good news for the iRacing fam. We got this coming in. I'm currently working on it myself personally to make sure that it is as accurate as possible. With the addition of dirt, and now this mean car, it is going to be so fun. And it's going to be available free to all the iRacing members. Personally, I can't wait to get out there and race you guys on it.
Welcome back to OCTV's coverage of the Pack Majors Bathurst 500 at Mount Panorama here in Australia, trying to see what Paul Gehringer could do here tonight. The 43 has led every lap of this race, 41 laps past halfway, 40 laps to go. See what these drivers can do. It really just seems to be in Paul Gehringer's wheelhouse here, just putting down some blistering laps, and of course second place. Kyle Murphy has just come into the pits while we were under commercial, still sitting there. Looks like he's just now leaving. Good timing as he's going to leave out of the pits. We'll see what kind of difference he'll put down on the track here. But either way, Paul Gehringer still holding your lead.
Yeah, Murphy, he had a 41-second pit stop. That is brutal amount of time to sit there.
Yeah, it's almost painful to sit there with these cars. They take so long to refuel. An average stop this race has been taking about 40, anywhere from 40 seconds to some drivers have cut it a little shorter to 36, but it just depends on how long these drivers want to run on these tires. Some drivers have had shorter pit stops with 24 seconds because they didn't want to run 23 laps. They wanted to run 12. So it just all depends on what you want to do on a set of tires. But really, our top 3, top 5 have stuck to those 40-second pit stops. It just seems like these guys need to do long runs to keep up with Paul.
Except for Robert Laurent just pulled off a 24-second stop.
Yeah, Robert Laurent, I think he was trying to split the second half of this race into more stops in the first half. So we'll keep a close eye on him. Robert Laurent, we had covered how he was fairly quick. He had pitted around lap 32. Lap 32 was his out lap, so between lap 31 32. So he has had about 10 laps on this set of tires. We'll see how long he takes to pit again, but either way, we've got 39 laps to go. Everyone will have to pit again.
Yeah, it looks like Scott Kukas found himself a piece of asphalt or concrete that he wanted to say hi to.
Friendly set of guys here tonight.
Yep, trying to make sure they know intimately every section of wall out here.
Yeah, and we were talking about a couple of drivers right behind Gehringer, but right in front of him, the next driver he will approach will be the 58 of Stephen Paulison, who is currently fourth on the racetrack, and he is also the last driver on the lead lap. Now, there are a couple of drivers behind Gehringer that will gain their lap back once Paul pits, but until then, we are down to 4 drivers on the lead lap.
That's just bonkers.
Yeah, Paul Gehringer putting down some brutal lap times.
And he's not slowing down.
He's not slowing down. It's almost as if he's teasing.
His last
bit.
lap time was a 2:12 flat.
Yeah, and you watch him. If he has a good lap, if he's feeling good, he's going around this racetrack. He's gotten down to very low 211s, almost breaking into that 210s. It's incredible the speeds he's been able to put down here tonight.
It's just good for you, man. That's crazy.
Well, that's pretty much all you can say, and you have to hand it to the rest of the field. They've had their battles, they've had their fun. They've since then spread out quite a bit, but either way, I mean, they've been doing their best tonight, and we thought maybe we'd have a battle here. Especially Robert Laurent has been putting down some crazy times. As soon as he got up to second after qualifying fourth, he put down some really bad times, bad fast that is, and but the difference, the gap was too large to catch up to Paul Gehringer, and since then, Paul's just been pulling away.
If you look at the couple of guys who just pitted not long ago, you're looking at and the fast guys. You've got Chris Pence, who just pitted. His last lap was a 2:11.7, and his time there was what, 3-4 tenths faster than Paul, who's on how old of tires?
Yeah, just barely. They're just able to gap Paul just a little bit.
On
when
fresh
Paul
tires,
is behind
they're
someone or on old tires, or there's a couple of things that come into play, but really Paul has been able to put down some crazy times here, repeatedly. Not that his times are fast compared to everyone else, but his times are continually fast. It just seems like he falls off so much slower than everyone else, and it's not as if people can't qualify, put down the same times as him. We look at the grid, look at the grid times, look at the practice times. A bunch of guys got down to the 2:11s, but just no one's able to do it so consistently,
right?
Like the 43 has.
That's the way to do it, man. If you can clock that same lap 81 times, you're gold.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And we'll see when he decides to come in. Last time he had pitted a lap 23. That is the only time he's pitted so far, so we'll keep an eye on that. It's been 11 laps since then. Sorry, 21 laps since then. 21 laps. So give or take about 2 more until, if he wants to split these up, he'll pit again. Speaking of pitting, 58 of Stephen Paulison decided to bring it in pit lane.
Yeah, no challenge for Gehringer to get that lap on him. Easy when they're in the pits when you're passing them.
Yeah, of course, and still, Paul has to pit again, so a couple of guys will get those laps back. Not all of them, but a couple of them will get their laps back. You expect someone like Chris Pence, Dan Garber, maybe Ernie Ludwig, depending on where he comes out. It just all depends, but there's a couple of still fast guys that are able to stay on lead lap. It's just that they've pitted and Paul hasn't. A shout out to some of these drivers as we watch someone like Mark Redeker. He's currently behind the 09 of Robert Laurent, not on the same lap. Mark finds himself 1 lap down at 9th. Robert Laurent finds himself almost a minute and a half back from Paul on the lead lap still, but not competing for a spot, but still able to let each other go. It doesn't seem like a lot of these drivers are keen to press the issue when they're not for a spot. So it's good to see these guys know how long this race could be if they were to push every single lap. So it's good to see these guys cooperating with each other.
Yeah, and speaking of for a spot, not for a spot, if looking at Jeremy Testar and Ernie Ludwig, they were spaced out, and now all of a sudden they've gotten to less than a second apart. Looks like Ludwig might be wanting to push himself to get into that 6th position from Jeremy.
Yeah, we've seen this play out twice before, it seems. These guys have magnets on their cars, just draws them back to each other. This is for a position, like you just mentioned, for 7th on the track. Really the only battle going on right now, trying to keep up with as much of the action as we can. Starting that descent down the mountain, it looks like Ernie really has been able to keep up the pace here. His last lap wasn't as good as Jeremy there, but we'll see if he can increase that this time by.
Yeah, both of those guys are Team Canada. They are new this year to the Pacific Majors since they did the growth, and so familiar with each other, and I'm sure they're having a good time just laying down some laps, giving each other some pressure, keeping each other sharp and focused.
Yeah, worth mentioning, we have a new driver back on track, and that is the 18 of Seth Alberts. He's currently capping 75 miles an hour right now. He had tons of damage on that car, finds himself 42 laps down. He had to sit in the pits for quite a long time. Seth Alberts had to repair that car, but he's finally back on track and can still make up positions. We have the car in front of him is 7 laps in front of him, but the car is out of the race, so he can still make up a position. So it's good to see Seth Alberts not give up on this race. However, he's going very slow. So
he is
on the other side, it's good to see him back in the race, but also let's be a little careful here, because I know the one person that might not want to see him is Paul Gehringer. It looks like, if I'm correct, the 69, my apologies, the 69 of Matt Gelder has disconnected, not of his doing, has lost internet. So he is currently out of the race in the 15th position. That makes him 11 laps down.
Yeah, Matt has not had the race he was expecting when that green flag fell at all.
No, not quite. He's the thing is, he had spun earlier on, and we saw him recover from that, try to keep that car up to speed, came into the pits. But since then, just not his race.
Leader in the pit lane.
Absolutely. The 43 finally going to bring it in. And, looking at the lap count, he is pitting every 23 laps on the lap. So if there was ever a pattern to look for with 35 laps to go, it is there. Every 23 laps, he finds himself making his way down to pit lane here. We'll see what kind of pit time he can put down. Worth mentioning, across the line, last time by, 65 seconds back, 75 seconds back was the 09 of Robert Laurent.
I'm wondering if Gehringer is going to short pit this one and then divide the last race, with 23 lap stops. Then he's got 12 laps to go if he does it in another 23, so he can short pit and make it the whole way.
Quite possibly. I think at this point, he's gotten himself out to such a lead. It doesn't matter.
He's well past that short pit.
Yeah, he's currently crossing over 40 seconds on his pit stop. He was 75 seconds ahead of second place, and just now he's leaving the 43-second pit stop. So yeah, there's second place got nowhere close to him. Yeah, he could afford to do a full stop, which he just did. So we should see him stop in another 23 laps.
So it looks like Chris Pence, Danny Gerber, and Jeremy Tester all were able to get laps back right there. But the guy who they got their laps back from is right behind them with fresh tires.
Yeah, absolutely. So We'll see how many of them can actually keep that lap. Worth mentioning, Robert Laurent is still in second. We'll see what kind of time he comes across the line, as he's made his second pit stop already, although he shorted his second pit stop as he's getting a little loose. So we'll see how long it'll be till he pits, but he should pit relatively soon, and I still don't think he can go all the way, so he's actually had to take one more pit stop than Paul will. I'm looking across the ticker, and it seems to me like every single driver has made their second or third pit stop. So they have completed their pit stops under green, and as they come around this time by, we'll give you guys an honest read on what the rundown is. Paul sizing up the last driver on the lead lap right now, the 270,
Tester
who's
pulls
really
over,
just
lets
going
him
to
by.
pull over. Probably for the best there. Jeremy, last one was the last one lead lap. Now the first one lap down in 6th position.
And it's about 20 seconds from, where are we at? From Gehringer up to the next car, 1 lap down. It's Morgan. Where is everybody? Dan Garber? There
I
he
believe
is.
that would be Dan Garber. Yes, you are correct.
Found him.
Yes, we're looking at the gap right now. The 43 just coming across the line. The next driver he would like to put down a lap is the 8 of Dan Garber, who is making his way past turn 4. So he's already going up the mountain, and Paul, of course, has to go down that long straightaway after turn 1.
Of course, there's a couple of cars between the two. Got Jared Morgan doing the best he can with what he's got there, and Seth Alberts just kind of, Alberting.
Yeah, just hanging in there. He is going relatively off pace, though. So you've got to be careful around the leader. Should be. We'll keep an eye on Paul there just in case. I can't imagine anyone would want to do anything to the leader of the race, but
You never know.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
Seth Alberts, we've all ran with him plenty of times. He's good quality. Look at that, just pulls over, lets him by.
absolutely, it's good to see. And want to check back here. As they came across the line last time by, we've finally gotten a couple of drivers across. We can keep you up to date with the rundown of the top 5 right now. It looks like this. Starting with our leader, of course, is the 43 of Paul Gehringer, leading second place by 15 seconds. That's the 09 of Robert Laurent. He's taken second place back from the 9 of Kyle Murphy. Kyle Murphy 32 seconds behind our leader. Back in 4th is the 014 of Chris Pence, 78 seconds behind our leader last time by. And of course, the last driver on lead lap in the 5th position is the 8 of Dan Garber. Now you've got to wonder, past halfway here, getting down some people, and about give or take 10 laps will start their last pit stop of the race. We'll see what they can do here in the final stretch. Coming across the line, 33 laps to go here at this almost 4-mile racetrack. And this is a relatively long one compared to the tracks they've been on.
Right, yeah. A lot of tracks on the road course side. Of course, they're running Spa, which is a long track, but nowhere near this. And earlier, was it this year or last year, they ran the Nuremberg Ring, which is, of course, 12 miles?
A little long. Little bit. Yeah, but these guys, oh man, this one's just one of those Sunday track races where after so long they get to a point where the majority of the drivers here are just cruising. They're just trying to cruise, trying to keep it clean, do whatever they can, and so far they're looking good.
Yeah, looking at Kyle Murphy working himself through traffic. He's coming up on Seth Alberts. Seth swinging real wide there.
Yeah, just a little bit.
But
It's not as if he's getting in the way, and that's
No.
important to remember. So
yeah, and there's a few more guys working themselves around. Mark McFadden clearing Seth as well. Seth just doing a great job. He's training his laps. He's helping put on the show here, getting some experience. Just a shame his car is as injured as it is.
yeah, he's just doing his best. He just came over the radio, letting everyone know, hey guys, I'm just here logging some laps, doing the best he can, and of course he is letting everyone go. He's not getting in the way of one person or another, just trying to do his best to stay out of the way and yet still complete laps.
I'm looking through the field here.
Ooh, got the 014 of Chris Pence in pit lane here, pitting with 33 laps to go. So he should have to pit again.
And Gehringer just got around, what was that? Kukas. Got a nice, good clear.
Yeah, Chris Pence will go down a lap, his first lap actually. He had just gotten back on the lead lap there. Ball coming through turn 1. Chris Pence still on pit lane, hitting 45 seconds. There we go. Exactly 45 seconds on that pit stop. You'll see him. Jeremy Tester has made it past Chris Pence. He'll try to compete for that spot. Chris has fallen to the 6th position, coming off of pit lane.
You know, we say 6th position like it's a bad thing there. Out here, if you're running and keeping up lap times, that's hats off. You guys are doing great.
Yeah, no, of course, 6th is, is a lap down, but still competing. I mean, it's 6th place. 19 drivers started tonight, and about half the field has had heavy damage suffered on their cars, and of course, Chris Pence, one of them, able to keep it clean so far.
Yeah, and he's in a battle right now with Paulison, trying to keep a hold of 6th place, but 7th place, Stephen Paulison, wanting to get some position as well.
Yeah, and of course, Stephen Paulison will have to make another pit stop relatively soon. The last time he pitted was around lap 31, so he's still got a little bit, maybe 1 or 2 laps to go, as it looks like the car in front of him moving to the side. That is the 85 of Scott Kukas. But yes, Stephen Paulison will have to come in soon, so I don't imagine he'll compete with Chris Pence here, unless Pence, of course, has some trouble.
It's nice to see the Tester Pence Paulison lineup right there. As they're starting to spread out, get a little more space between them, stretching their legs, letting their tires heat up and get worn out. You start to see all the different lines that they're taking and just wheeling these cars through these corners. And like right now, flying down the backstretch, just screaming fast while getting on those binders, making a sharp left, gentle right, and just keep on trying to find some speed.
Absolutely, Jeremy Tester still holding his own right now as he comes into the pits. Just pulled off the lane there. Chris Pence going to pick up that spot there. And so will Stephen Paulison behind him as Stephen decides to stay out one more lap. Jeremy Tester bringing it in. He is already down a lap. Looking at his last pit stop, that came around lap 31, so almost exactly when Stephen Paulison pit. So we should see Stephen in here soon with him. But either way, Jeremy now finds himself
Scott Kukas all over the place. I don't know if he got on the gas or the brakes or what, but all of a sudden his car went sideways and he was going to go drifting confirmed.
It's just having a little fun, a little drift around that first turn. And funny enough, looking at the times, Scott Kukas just ran his fastest lap of the race for him. As he smacks the wall. He just ran his fastest lap on lap 40. So he had increased in speed until then, until he smacked the wall going into, I believe, turn 2.
There he goes.
And he's around. Careful, careful, careful. I believe that's Ernie Ludwig, Kyle Murphy.
Oh, he took the toe. I just noticed his license plate right before he towed there. His license plate says wrecked.
Oh, that's appropriate, unfortunately. Right now, wow. Okay, well, that takes another driver that's taking heavy damage, who's currently off the racetrack right now. That will put Scott back to the 13th position. Adam Young is back behind him. He can lose a spot to Adam coming across the line now. Adam is 2 laps behind Scott Kukas. Oh, the 8 of Dan Garber got sideways coming off of the first turn there. Slip and sliding. Got his car back up to speed here, under control. Keep a very close eye on Paul Gehringer. Working his way across the line there. 30 laps to go. Still a long race here. Got about, give or take, another hour.
Yeah, this is still got a lot of life in it.
Yeah, you know, it's funny, we say how much Paul really has been dominating this race. He has led every single lap so far, which has been 51 laps on the night. Started up in first, has really been nowhere else. No one's really been able to challenge him. Starting on the very, very first lap of this race, no one really got up to him. He had a little bit of a gap, and he set sail.
Yeah, and
since then, no one able to make up time.
He hasn't had any real mistakes either. He hasn't shown any real wall smacking. He's just been driving his clean, fast laps.
Absolutely. And of course, the next one we just mentioned, the next one he would reach is the 8 of Dan Garber, but Dan has made his 3rd stop of the night. Dan made that, I believe he pitted around lap 39. So he has about 10 or so more laps before he decides to pit again. Paul still has to come in for his 3rd one, which he pitted relatively recently at lap 47. Ooh. With right front damage, Garber decides to bring it in early. Ooh, some heavy right front damage there. See how long his pit stop is, but in the time being, Paul Gehringer will easily be able to put him down a lap, which for temporarily, it'll mean 3 drivers, down to 3 drivers in the lead lap. Incredible. Give you an example of the gap between first and second. First is just out of turn 1. Second is actually coming into the pits. The timing, incredible. But 09, Robert Laurent bringing it into the pits. And looks like, yes, Kyle Murphy will stay out, which will put Kyle Murphy temporarily in the 2nd position. We'll see how well he can hold that. Kyle, of course, pitted back on lap 42. So he's run about 11 laps so far. See how far he goes. Robert Laurent gonna bring it in. Reminder, Robert had a very short pit stop last time. Only 24 seconds.
Oh, I just saw Mark McFadden just shoot off into the grass and lock him up. He is back underway. Just caught him sliding out.
You had to be careful there. He had the 66 of Mike Taylor. Back behind him, he made it through cleanly, though. Keeping an eye on Robert Laurent as he approaches 40 seconds on his pit stop. He should go soon, and there he goes. Almost exactly 40 seconds on the dot. As he makes it out of pit lane, we'll look up in front of him. The next car he'll approach is the 48 of Mark McFadden, not for position. And back behind him, Robert Laurent has the 270. Immediately behind him is Jeremy Testar. So close eye on that. Robert should be able to pull away here once he gets about a lap on his tires. A little bit of heat on them.
Yeah, with these tires, when they first come out, you got to really baby on them. It takes
be
almost,
very careful.
Yeah, it takes almost that whole first lap just to get those tires to pressurize, equalize, get a little heat in them, and go out and be able to drive on them.
Ooh, 270. Getting a little bit of loosey-goosey there. a little squirrely in the corners. Either way, trying to hold on to it. I'm going to take a look at Kyle Murphy here. Mentioned before, Kyle pit almost exactly 11 laps to go. Still deciding to stay out. As he goes through the last turn, he's going to have to come across the line. We'll get you the gap back to second here. Kyle is now 34 seconds behind our leader, Paul Gehringer. But it does look like they're pitting relatively close to each other. As I just mentioned, Kyle had pitted on lap 42. Paul had pitted on lap 47, so about a 5-lap difference between these guys. Sorry, I was combining their names to pile. But Paul Gehringer has 5 laps fresher tires than Kyle does.
And still, Paul Gehringer, just his last lap was 2:11.9. That he's just pumping down some great lap times. And who just joined the pits?
09 of Robert Laurent.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, Laurent just came into the pits.
Interesting. Oh, looking at the front of his car, that doesn't look good. We're gonna have to review that.
Oh, yeah, that hurts.
Left front damage here. We're gonna go back a lap, see where he initially got it. Let's see. Riding around the track with him. I'm looking in the replay here.
Yeah, I'm looking as well.
That must have been towards the end there. No, I don't know.
No, it had to be. Shoot, my replayer is not replaying with me.
Oh, I've got it.
Yeah,
it's coming down the mountain. Oh.
Yeah, just past apex. He just locks the brakes up, nails that inside wall.
Oh, that was a hard hit too. Oh, that is gonna hurt. Yeah, absolutely. I didn't know how big of a hit it was, but that was a massive hit to the left front of that car.
I'm
and it
surprised.
shows he's got to repair that. He doesn't have a fast repair. If he does, he decided not to use it. I can't imagine. I believe he used it already. Either way, he is going to fall more and more past a minute long on his pit stop.
Oh yeah, he's coming up to a minute and a half already.
Yeah, and of course, Paul has since put him down a lap. Only 2 drivers. With that, only 2 drivers on the lead lap. Of course, Paul and second place Kyle Murphy. Kyle back by 33 seconds is actually gaining some time. His last lap was about half a second faster than Paul's.
There's still a full commercial break between the two of them.
One would think yes, for using that bit of math. But yes, 27 laps to go right now. As Paul is now making his way down the mountain, almost where it seems Laurent took that hit. Which Laurent he's gonna really have to repair that car. That's heavy damage.
Ernie Ludwig, just looked at his car. He's got a significant amount of right front damage on his ride. That iRacing Ford, missing a fender.
Yeah, a couple of drivers have been missing a fender throughout this race. Unfortunately, the mountain has captured many, many victims here tonight.
Oh, Mark McFadden is driving a modified.
Yeah, a little bit there, and he has used his fast
Zoomed in on
repair. I
that.
can say that with full confidence. Mark, unfortunately, was putting down some decent laps early on, but since then he has had nothing but trouble, and he's just trying to hang in there. Currently in the 11th position, 3 laps down.
Right when you were saying just holding on there, I was looking at Mike Taylor. Mike Taylor was in a full locked up slide just after the coming down the mountain, just hitting that the top section there, and just drifted, almost nailed the wall, got it bundled back up, and they'll put the baby back in the wagon and start taking off again.
That's good to see. Mike Taylor was competing early on with Ernie Ludwig, actually, but doesn't seem it to be at this point. Mike doing a good job. Only one lap down right now. Really just trying to do his best, try to keep up with everyone around him. Mark Redeker is really the one driver he has to catch, and of course Mark, as I say it, brings it into pit lane. So he will pick up that spot, Mike Taylor will, as we'll see what kind of time Mark Redeker puts down in the pits. He's been pitting around 40 seconds.
So, Kook is put on the binders to allow Adam Young to come around, but Adam Young didn't know he was going to do that. Just all of a sudden got on the binders as well. We had 2 cars parked, trying to figure out what to do.
Oof. Well, while that's going on, Mark Redeker came in, had some heavy left front damage. Luckily for him, saved his fast repair for the end, and now has a completely fresh car. He's now hitting 20 seconds on his pit stop. We'll see how long this one takes. Pitting with 26 laps to go. That'll
There
be
he
3
goes.
more than the longest run by anyone here today. So keep a close eye on him. But he is off. He pitted with am I reading that correctly? 26 seconds.
Yep.
He's probably going to, if I'm assuming by that, he's going to split this final 26 run into 2 13-lap segments. We'll have to look back on that, but that's what it looks like right now.
Yeah, you got to be imagining that as much as these guys have been getting damaged, he knows he's going to be in.
Yeah, pretty much. As he just lets, I believe that's the 8 of Dan Garber.
Yep,
By
Garb.
that was 4th position there. Dan's got some heavy right front damage. Looking through the field here, looks like the 66 is approaching one of his teammates. That is the 18 of Seth Alberts. Can't imagine Seth is going to hold him up, and he won't. Mike Taylor going to make it through cleanly.
Seth Alberts gently bringing that blue machine up to speed.
Very gently. Speaking of gently, the 09 of Robert Laron was checking on him and is just now coming back on the on the racetrack off of pit lane.
Oh, that car looks so sad.
It's still smashed up.
Oh,
He did not have
man.
his fast repair to use. He has now dropped to the 10th position, 2 laps off the pace after running 2nd and 3rd most of the night. Has been right around that position. Unfortunately for him, his night seems to be over unless quite a few guys in front of him have some issues.
Yeah, from a competition standpoint, he is just making some extra points at this point.
Yeah, now he does have someone he's competing with that is also 2 laps down. That is Ernie Ludwig. Sorry about that. But Ernie is working his way up the mountain right in
hard
front
back
of
into the wall again.
Sorry, who
He
was
is-
that?
Ludwig, or excuse me, Laurent just drove right back into the wall again.
I was just about to say Laurent had someone to catch, and then of course, and he just hit the wall again.
That,
All right,
that car is hurt.
that suspension is toast. Yeah, it's he's gonna compete with Mark McFadden for the modified award for today.
Yeah, best looking car contest in reverse.
Yeah. Yeah, best modified lookalike is what they're competing for. Unfortunately for Robert, man, that's going to be tough to finish on because he's just gaining that damage. And Mark has been running around with damage like that for quite a while. So that's really going to be tough as Robert Lalonde, after Paul Gehringer has come across the line, everything's equaled out. Robert finds himself now 3 laps down. Nice paint job, though.
The Outback ride was a good looking ride.
I don't know what you mean. That looks great.
I still want to know what monster that is up there on the front there.
Either way,
Oh, yeah, and Laurent is back into the pits.
yeah, that's to be expected. He took a few shots. That wall just jumped out of nowhere.
And he
And
took more
grabbed
shots to
him.
the face than Jenna Jameson has.
Yeah. Unfortunately. Gonna make his way in. I'll give you guys a quick rundown of the top 5 as it currently sits right now. Paul Gehringer up in the top spot. leading by 37 seconds exactly across the line that last time by. Over the 9 of Kyle Murphy up in second. In third, we've got the 014 of Chris Pence. He is currently the first car, 1 lap down right now. Back behind him, the 58 of Stephen Paulus in fourth, and in fifth, the 66 of Mike Taylor, just now coming across the line. Well, it looks to me like Holden is running the board right now. If we had to compare the Fords and the Holdens in the top 5, it looks like it's Ford, Holden, 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 Ford. And Paul Gehringer, he's running it for the Fords right now, coming out of the Northwest Club. But yeah, putting down a little bit of a whooping, if we had to say so. But whew. And he has just been absolutely killing it. It seems.
And if there's any car paint scheme you want to see clean and fresh and crispy, it's that Foster's beer. That's a good looking ride, and it makes me want to take a quick break to the fridge.
That's definitely one way to do it. You know, I do want to give a shout out to some of the clubs. I just mentioned Paul Gehringer is from the Northwest Club. He's currently leading the pack in that aspect. The first driver from the Texas Club is, of course, Chris Pence in third. And I wanted to give a shout out to the Texas Club because they have the least, I think, besides just West. Tom Drelling's the only driver from just West alone. Texas is the next tier of clubs with only 4 drivers, and 2 of the drivers from Texas are in the top 5. So a very good showing for them.
Oh, the leader into the wall. Gehringer getting around Seth Alberts just put himself in the wall.
Oh, yeah, he did. Wow. Big smack. He actually was trying to slow down and got into the grass, and the grass kind of pulled him into the wall. That was a heavy hit, too. My goodness. He's got to come in, I have to imagine. Whew.
Yeah, he should still be sitting on his fast repair if he didn't lose it on accident on one of the other laps, pit stops.
Yeah, I can't imagine he's used his even by accident. I mean, he really hasn't been. He hasn't put himself in any danger. I mean, he's really been running clean race. I almost worry what his lead would be if he was being reckless. So, yeah, been running very cleanly here. We'll see what he decides to do. But either way, I mean, he could relatively come in, believably come in this time, take his fast repair, and still make it out in the lead, as second place is 37 seconds behind. Oh, in front of him, spin, right in front of him.
Yep, that's Adam Young. He's lost it. Looked like he was going to whoa up and let the leader go by, and he'd lost it himself.
Well, he did technically do that. Just not the way he wanted to. But the 43 gonna stay out. Worth mentioning, the 43 could pit here and make it all the way. His pit stops have been around 23 laps each time, and there's 22 laps to go that time by.
Yeah, other than that one little blop on the wall there, which lost the rear bumper, but Grocer Getta is still on the road.
Yeah, he basically slid and pancaked that entire right side, and he slid on the wall for a few seconds there. So gotta be very, very careful. That's absolutely not what he wanted, but it could be a lot worse now because that happened. He ran a 2-minute and 16-second lap. Worth mentioning that now lost 5 seconds. 5 seconds to the 9 of Kyle Murphy.
Right now, he's coming across one of the most treacherous parts of the track. Crested the hill. He is blowing it down, downshifting, coming through the S's. Woo! That is so much fun to watch. Yeah, but not a whole lot of fun to do at all. Once again, negotiated perfectly, and he is off to the races.
Yeah, that's one way to put it. looking back to second place here, Kyle Murphy, he's got someone in front of him. This is not for position. Steve Paulison finds himself 1 lap down. We'll see if, approaching Seth Alberts here. Careful. Gotta be careful here, as Kyle Murphy is going extremely fast here. I was going to say very, but that didn't seem like it was a big enough word. He's going extremely fast coming down that mountain compared to a couple of other drivers.
And Kyle negotiated around Paulison as well. He is clean and ready to go.
Absolutely.
Next up in front of Murphy is actually third place of Chris Pence.
Yeah, Chris Penn's doing a good job. See what kind of time he can put down. He was actually almost a 100th of a second. I know that doesn't seem like a lot, but 100th of a second faster than our leader last time by. We'll see what he can do. Oof, lost actually a second compared to our leader this time by. So 21 laps to go, and looks to me like a lot of these drivers really starting to put a bigger gap between them and Paul here, even with Paul running slower laps now.
These guys have done this for 60 laps. They are mined and their bodies are getting tired.
Yeah,
We
absolutely.
still have 21 more laps to go. This is an endurance fest for all of the Pacific Majors drivers.
Yeah, worth mentioning, out of the 19 that started, 5 drivers are currently off track or completely out of the race. So 14 drivers still active, even though a couple of them, a handful of them, are multiple laps down, still hanging in there, still running on track.
Right now, our leader, Gehringer, is on the back of Mark Redeker.
I believe that would put Mark down a second lap.
I believe he's down 2
Oh,
already.
he's actually down 4 laps. I'm so sorry.
4
I forgot. No, I'm sorry. That's Mark Redeker. He's down 1 lap, going down 2 laps. I had looked at Mark McFadden. Mark McFadden
yes.
is down 4 laps. Redeker has just been put down a second lap. My apologies. The marks have blended together for the last 20 laps of this race. They will be joining Pyle in the top 2. It'll be really interesting to see. Again, everyone can make it from here. We know that for sure. We've seen it happen. The longest green flag run, it seems, has been 23 laps, and that has been with our leader. Of course, our leader just crossed the line to make it 20 laps to go. So everyone's securely in the fuel window here. Had a couple of guys make 3-4 stops. A lot of our leaders have only made 2 stops, so it'll be a 3-stop race altogether.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see some of the top runner guys to pull over here within the next 3 to 5 laps, finish up their last stall, and let it go.
Yeah, absolutely. Just get that last stop over and see what they can do the last good run here.
LaRond is back on the track in his heavily damaged Holden, although he does have a front fender back on.
A little bit.
He got one of the 2
Yeah.
back.
Yeah, in that Pepsi Max car there. I don't know if I have a name for that paint scheme, but I do see Pepsi Max on there, so I'll give them a shout out. But incredible paint scheme on the 09, and hopefully he can put down some decent times here, as he unfortunately lost a lot of time after hitting the wall there. 6 laps down right now in the 11th position. You know, Donovan, I don't know if you've noticed, but Kyle Murphy, with the injured Paul Gehringer, has started picking up a little bit of time. Mentioned that Paul was leading Kyle by about 37 seconds, and no, he hasn't gotten that down to half, but Kyle has gotten 5-6 seconds closer to Paul since that happened.
Yeah, looking at their previous laps from the last couple of laps, looks like Murphy is about 3/4 of a second per lap faster.
Yeah, give or take here or there. It just all depends on what Paul can do throughout the corner. He still decides to stay out. Again, he will have to come in one more time, as will the majority of the top 5 will still have to come in. A couple of drivers out back will have to come in again, but they are multiple laps down right now, and maybe at an oval, maybe at an oval they'd have a chance, but just not on this racetrack. It's unfortunately a lot of drivers have spun, taking heavy hits, and just not able to return.
Now, if you're Paul, are you wanting to lead every lap? So you're going to wait until Murphy gets his stop, get that spread open again, and then take your pit stop?
Well, good question. We can look at it. I believe last time we checked, and I'll do it again just to make sure. But the last time Paul pitted was lap 47, and the last time Kyle pitted was lap 42. So still, it was that 5-lap gap that Kyle should have to come in before Paul. So to answer your question, yes, I do think Kyle Murphy will come in, and which will then lead to Paul leading every single lap this race, which he's done. He's led all 62, only one other driver on the lead lap with him, and of course that is Kyle Murphy. So still, even 30 seconds back, they stayed solidly on the lead lap. I mean, 30 seconds isn't as if he's about to get lapped. I mean, he's solidly on the lead lap.
A quarter of a lap down. Put that in terms of Daytona, and you're only 2 turns back.
Yeah. Put it in terms of a 4-mile racetrack.
You're
he's
about
not that far behind at all. But he is approaching the 014, I believe, of Chris Pence up in front of him. Again, Pence down a lap. He's actually in 3rd. So, Kyle here can actually lap the car behind him. So, worth mentioning there. I want to give a shout out to a driver up in the top 5, and that's the 58 of Stephen Paulison. Struggled a little bit early on, but made his way off of the grid from the 10th spot to now running 4th. So a decent race from the 58, having a good run here.
It looks like Murphy is coming in for his pit right now.
Oh, yeah. Cutting a little
kinda
close there. He wants to get every second out of the stop he can. Well, we'll see how long that pit stop should be. About 18 laps to go. Not as long as his runs have been before, but should be a little shorter pit stop here. As should, of course, Paul Gehringer's. So,
yeah, if Gehringer sticks to plan, he's going to pit with 13 to go or 12 to go.
Yeah, give or take. We'll see here. Oh, the 21 had spun on the racetrack at the top of the mountain. He is now towed back to pit lane, in fact, right behind Kyle Murphy. And he's saying he's going to call it a race. That is the 21 of Adam Young, now in the 14th position, 10 laps down.
Hey, he's not in danger. Well, will he lose another position? Stacey Hunter's not driving. Seth Alberts is, so yeah, he's good.
Yeah, he should be good. He's got 35 laps over Seth Alberts with 18 laps to go. Should be safe here.
And Kukas is still running, so he's not going to catch in on him anytime soon. They're all good.
Yeah. Yeah, Adam Young will be holding that position. Kyle Murphy off of pit lane with a stop of 41 seconds, almost 42 seconds on that stop. A full pit stop there. And we'll see how far back he is. Should be around 70 seconds. Oh,
Ernie
Ludwig.
Ernie Ludwig just knows that right into the wall coming into up the hill turn. Because I don't know what a word is for it, but that was just a little bit ago. No, Ernie Ludwig, number 9, or not number 9, sorry, number 26.
No, I see what you're saying. Yes, Ernie Ludwig gotten into the wall there and actually slapped off of it. I was referring to the 48 of Mark McFadden, who had completely spun into the wall not a few seconds behind him. So a couple of drivers hitting that second turn wall up on the left, bringing a little too much speed into the corner. Oh, Mark McFadden, he is hurting. He is. Seth Albert's hurting. He is really broken right now.
But his crew did, looks like they duct taped him on another fender.
A little bit. He's still got drivers behind him active, so he would lose positions here. So we'll see what he decides to do. Taking a look at Paul Gehringer. He's sizing up the 8 of Dan Garber, trying to put him down a second lap. If things go his way, he might be able to lap everyone, with the exception of Kyle Murphy, by 2 laps.
That's redonkulous.
That's incredible. That's a good race. That's a good race on his part.
Ooh.
Little
bit of fishtail in there, yeah.
That's
You know,
not what you want to
Gehringer
see
had
as a
a-
leader, but
yeah, he had a
either
little
way,
pucker.
he'll keep it clean.
It's like, just let me by, just let me by, just let me by.
That's what he's thinking, and that's what he's. Oh!
Oh!
I believe there was a little bit of a miscommunication. Dan was saying he'll keep to the right, while Paul was already at the right. So, and luckily for them, they kept off of each other. But yeah, gotta keep a close eye on that. Stuff like that will happen.
More spotter communication.
There's never enough communication. All right. Here we go.
Here he is with 17 to go. He's pitting early.
Yeah, it was a little bit shorter run there between the second and third stop.
So our leader, it does hit pit road, 17 laps to go. No chance of really giving up the lead to Kyle Murphy at this point. He is a minute and a half ahead. Although this pit stop, if it holds true, it'll be a 40-plus second stop. So puts Kyle Murphy back into that about 35-ish second back.
Yep, we'll keep a close eye on this. Kyle Murphy just now starting his descent down the mountain. We'll see what kind of time he can pick up. Should pick up, like you just mentioned, about 40 seconds. We'll see what the official time is across the line. But Paul just now getting about halfway through his pit stop.
And I'm watching Kyle come down this mountain. That number 9 Mobile 1 car, Holden, just ripping up finding speed. He's 150, going faster and faster. He wants to make up every inch of ground he could possibly find.
And Paul Gehringer is out of pit lane. Has just now crossed over to the racing surface. Worth mentioning, he did use his fast repair. Has got a completely clean car for 16 laps to go.
And his pit time was only 31 seconds of sitting to service of the crew.
Yeah, interesting. About 10 seconds shorter than Kyle Murphy. Kyle, of course, just now coming across the line. Oof. We're gonna have to wait for them to come back one more time around. But yeah, it doesn't look good, unfortunately, with Paul having a quicker stop here. Chris Pence earned his lap back, and I believe he was the only driver to officially get a lap back here. We'll have to double check that. Keeping an eye here, looks like Jeremy Tester is running with Mike Taylor. This is for a position, 6th and 7th on the track. They're both 2 laps down. In fact, Mark Rediker behind them lost 2 spots to him. He gave up both a spot to Jeremy and Mike there. Mark Rediker back to the 7th position. Sorry, the 8th position. My apologies. They're currently 1 lap down after gaining that lap back from Paul here. A reminder that Mark Rediker came down pit lane with 26 laps to go. So that's 3 laps longer than our longest run under green here. That was done by Paul Gehringer. It'll be very interesting to see if he can pull it off, especially with the laps he's running. He's still running Well, his last lap was a little slow. He was running 2 minutes and 20 seconds.
He's just cruising out here.
Absolutely. Gonna keep a
Yep.
close eye on the battle between Tester and Taylor.
Yeah, the space from Gehringer back to Murphy is holding tight, right around 35-ish seconds, 34 seconds. But I think that's probably going to hold true for what we've seen. Murphy and Gehringer both going to clock in very similar lap times. And let's see if anybody, it's Gehringer's race to have an error with.
Yep, pretty much. And of course, the only one that can really come, unless Gehringer has one quickly, yeah, it's really Kyle Murphy's race to get, unless, assuming Gehringer has an accident, which I don't see happening. I mean, Gehringer has made one mistake, and that one mistake basically cost him, 5 seconds maybe? So,
and about
yeah.
a quarter second a lap.
Yeah, so got that fixed, got a fresh car, back out. Knows to take it a little bit more easier this time around. 15 laps to go. Should be relatively safe, assuming he can just be clean. Just continue to be clean, as we have 3 drivers on the lead lap right now. Chris Pence, of course, earned his lap back after Paul pitted, but checking as he passed Stacy Hunter. Checking the last time Chris Pence pitted, he pitted around lap 49, which means he absolutely will have to pit again coming up to
Rediker is in.
17 laps to go, give or take, or 17 laps since he last pitted. And you're right, Rediker has brought it in.
Have he heard us talking? He said, I'm pulling it. And
Yeah, it would have been interesting to see him make that. I don't think we have had anyone go past, really go past 23 laps.
And LaRond is back in pits. That is just heartbreaking to see. he had an issue somewhere. It is just, that's bad.
I don't, just because the hood's gone? I
Well,
don't,
that and the fenders and the bumper looks like he may
Oh,
have
one or two
rolled that
fenders,
thing
what's that?
over.
1 second of that maybe?
They're about.
Yeah, well, Robert LaRon finds himself now in the 12th position, 7 laps down at the current moment. Actually, 12th position, as I believe Jared Morgan just made it past him. So, really unfortunate for Robert. What a weird turnaround. After he was in 2nd and 3rd, he was swapping with Kyle every now and then. Those 2 guys were easily the best 2 behind Paul Gehringer for the majority of this race. And the tables have turned for Robert, and Kyle, of course, still up in there in that position, but 34 seconds behind Paul.
And just a testament to sticking it out there. Jared Morgan, after the huge accident up front and missing his fast repair, he has made himself back up to 11th and only a lap behind Ernie Ludwig and Mark McFadden. So he keeps it clean. He might pick up 1 or 2 more spots.
Hey now, that's the way to do it. What you mentioned, the Ironman Award. Hey, that's exactly what it's all about. You know, show up for every race, try to complete every race, every lap you can, and finish strong. That's exactly what he's trying to do.
He's a good little bearded guy.
I'm sure he'll appreciate that, because Donovan said so. Well, looking back, trying to spy how much longer we have with Chris Pence out. He's going to have to pit again here. Looks like our leader is approaching a lap down driver of Stacy Hunter. In the 17th position, as announced, Paul can just go ahead and go by, trying not to cause any type of slow up here.
Easy clean overtake.
Nicely done. That's the way to do it when you have a leader behind you, especially with 40 laps down. Can't really do much, just trying to finish out here. Yeah, we should expect, we really should expect Chris Pence anytime now, I'd say. Anytime now, come into pit lane here. Last pit at lap 49, approaching 20 laps on these tires. So anytime now, Chris will come in, and of course he'll lose a lap to Paul Gehringer, which will then put only 2 drivers on the lead lap right now with 13 laps to go.
And I know Jared Morgan is in a battle with Stephen Paulison for Sportsman division points for the Pacific Majors. So he's trying to battle out there, get as many points as he can. Paulison, of course, riding around in 4th. Jared in 11th. So he's taking points racing as well.
Yeah, looking throughout the field, really the only battle we have is between Jeremy Tester and Mike Taylor up in 6th and 7th. Everyone else is just so spread out through the field on different laps, unfortunately. And it looks like to me Jared Morgan has come in for his final pit stop as he is leaving 34 seconds that time. Keep an eye on him, see if he's able to do anything here, but Ernie Ludwig is a lap ahead of him.
LaRon comes out of pits right in front of the leader, keeps it in the grass.
Ooh.
And Morgan is now the next car in the sights of our leader, Paul Granger.
Yeah, Jared's going to have to hope for a little bit of luck here as Mike go down to 7 laps, and of course Ernie Ludwig is on 5 laps down. So Jared needs a little bit of something to make up any more spots here tonight.
Little some from somebody.
Little some. Yep, you are correct. Well, we've got 12 laps to go here, and about an hour and 23 minutes left on the clock. Obviously, we will have plenty of time to finish this race.
We'll stretch
we'll
out
hit
those
it.
interviews.
Hit it almost, hit it almost exactly 3 hours on the dot, depending on maybe 3.5, depending on what Paul Gehringer does here. But yes, it's going to be a relatively long race here. These guys have tried their best to keep it clean. Not all have been able to. I mean, we've seen our leader not even be able to keep it clean the entire race here. That just goes to show you how tough this track is.
And there, our leader goes right around Jared Morgan, kindly letting him by. But yeah, this I'm sorry. Gehringer wisely just stayed right behind, gave Jared all the room he needed to do his drive. Once he got cleared, took off and proceeded on.
Absolutely. We'll see Mark McFadden up in front of our leader pit here. A reminder, Mark is back in the 9th position. Just going down to 5 laps. Oh, I see. Actually spun or went through the sand there, going into the pits, but he is back on the pavement. His night has been very eventful.
Alternate entries into pit lanes. It's okay.
Yeah, why not? Why not?
Yeah,
We're going to have to keep an eye on Chris Pence. He should be pitting here soon, as checking in on our 2nd place contender. Just making his way past a little bit of lap down traffic, across the line. 11 laps to go, and he is 33 seconds behind our leader right now. He's actually made up a little bit of time.
Yeah, Mark Taylor and Jeremy Testa are just starting to come into a really good battle. Testa has been really good around having other cars racing with him. That's been kind of fun.
Yeah, he's been able to hang on there, for sure. And it looks to me like the number 8 of Dan Garper has made his way into the pit lane. His pit stop is over 70 seconds long so far, so I'm assuming he's either fixing some damage. Oh, he's got so much damage on the front end of that car.
There is a lot.
We're gonna check here. Check to see if something happened recently.
It's not LaRon bad, but it's bad.
Yeah, checking back here. He kind of he did a little bit of a. Oh, that's hard to describe. He hit one wall on the right and bounced off into the middle of the racetrack and decided to say hello to the left wall as well. So, unfortunately for him, he was a rock between a hard place there, and between a rock and a hard place there. It was, heavy damage on the 8 of Dan Garber. Currently in the 7th position, only 1 lap down at the moment, but he will fall down to 2 as he will get lapped by Paul here, and really unfortunate. That'll give a chance to the 59 of Mark Redeker to pick up a spot here. I was watching out in front of our leader. The 85 of Scott Kukas was smoking it.
Yeah,
Through that first corner there.
He did an interesting turn 1.
Practicing his burnouts, just in case, just a little bit. Also, wanted to mention Chris Pence is in. Chris Pence pitted that last time by as we were talking about Dan Garber. Reminder, Chris Pence was in the 3rd position. Has since lost a lap. He is now the first driver, 1 lap down. And it looks to me like the other car he would have to battle is the 58 of Steven Paulison in 4th, who is about a straightaway away and pitted 5 laps ago. So we'll have to keep a close eye on that battle, see if Paulison can catch him.
I was watching the Testar and Taylor race, and Taylor just about drove it right into the wall, was able to keep it off and carry on. But man, he just overdrove on exit, and that was a close one. I think again these two test starts got about the only race on the track right now. Oh, except for Redeker is all over the place.
Oh, yep. And behind him, Paulison.
Oh, Redeker just had a bad couple of corners there. He exited out, hit gravel, hit wall, almost.
Yeah, he's
spun.
gonna go ahead and tow it back. He decided to tow it immediately. Yeah, Dan Garber's still sitting there right in front of him, actually. He's still losing laps, 3 laps down. Incredible. I don't know, it's just so much damage at the front end of that car. Oh, I'm watching Dan Garber in his pit stall, and he keeps revving that like he's about to leave. I don't know. I think he's maybe just trying to get his guys to hurry up on the repairs, maybe? Who knows?
Can you intimidate a digital pit crew?
Maybe. Maybe. Either way, the only person intimidating here tonight would be the 43 of Paul Gehringer.
Oh my god, yeah, he is still turning 12-11s. It's just nuts.
Crazy. Absolutely. I have to hand it to him. Kyle Murphy is still hanging in there. He's been around 30, 35 seconds. 30, 35 seconds this past, well, really second half of the race. It's just that large gap that makes it seem like no one's getting to Paul, but people are running competitive laps.
We should just go ahead and issue a 30-second penalty to Paul.
30-second slowdown?
Yeah.
I'm sure he'd be up for it. Sure.
Right?
Well, give it to Paul. He's led every single lap so far, which has been 72 laps. He'll come around here and lead his 73rd lap as they cross over to 8 laps to go. which gives you guys about, give or take, 20 minutes left of this race. Watch what these guys can do with that. Of course, still keeping an eye on, well, as I look back, it seems like it's gotten away from Mike Taylor. No longer directly on the back of Jeremy Tester. I don't know what happened there. Lost a ton of time to him.
Yeah, he dropped 3 seconds. Closed a little, lost a little more. He's just having a hard go back there right now.
Yeah, it looks like to me it came from the last descent down the mountain. Is when he lost that time. Chris Penn still keeping a good gap between him and fourth place, Stephen Paulison. Hence, just now hitting the line. Paulison approaching the last corner here. Paulison would have to put down some pretty crazy lap times to catch up to Chris here. Chris has been pretty fast for most of the night. Last time by, Paulison 2 seconds. Seconds slower than Chris Pence.
Yeah, it looks like, checking back on the tape here, Taylor is just losing ground. It's not one spot in particular where he had an error. It's just been a gap that's opened.
Yeah, just a gradual loss of speed there, it seems. Looking back, trying to see what we can see here. Mark Redeker still in the pits. Dan Garber has officially left. He's checking in to see where Dan is. Dan is currently 4 laps down in the 8th position on his own lap. Ernie Ludwig is the next car behind him. Ernie's down 5 laps, currently in the 9th position. Looks like Mark McFadden. Oh, that car. Poor Mark McFadden, bringing it back down pit lane, and with the added damage to his car, it looks like Jared Morgan has been able to pick himself up a spot. Jared has brought himself back into the top 10. In 10th
Isn't
position.
that impressive for Mr. Morgan?
Nicely done. Yeah, he had fallen quite low after his initial accident. Or, well, it wasn't an accident, it was more of a bug out. We'll have to get a clarification, but it seemed to me like he had gotten stuck on pit lane, almost that bug where you might have checked something, but it's something with the iRacing server. But either way, Jared got caught on pit lane and lost all that time. And it would have been interesting to see what he could have been able to do, because he had qualified 2nd on the grid. Checking throughout the field here.
Yeah, trying to find something interesting for y'all to see.
Well, I've got a car on a racetrack. Does that count?
There we go. Hey, race cars are cool.
Yeah, I agree. I'm actually checking back in. Give a shout out. Seth Alberts has since now pulled down pit lane. He finds himself in the 18th position. Anyone around him has been put out of the race, including the 06 of Tom Drelling, who is now holding the last position, has officially called it a race. He's in 19th. Up 2 spots is the 15 of Gary Nichols, officially out in the 17th position. The 39 driver of Stacy Hunter out in the 16th position. Matt Gelder in the 69 out in the 15th position. Adam Young in the 21 out in the 14th position. And Scott Kukis is your last active driver on the racetrack, with the exception of Mark Redeker, who's still completing a pit stop, and Mark McFadden, who just came into the pits, and I believe I don't know, I can't imagine what they could be repairing on that car. But who knows? Either way, that car is pretty beat up, and Mark's just trying to make the best of his night, currently in the 11th position.
The Mark Redeker, of course, got the survival, the Australian Outback Edition on the hood there, and that car needs everything it can to survive what's left of this. Stacey Hunter is reporting out that his engine has ceased to exist.
that would explain it. Well, that would mean that the 39 is officially out of the race at 16th. So, believe it or not, that was actually a pickup, qualified 17th on the night. Not the way they wanted to pick up a spot, but either way, picking up a spot up to 16th on the grid.
And we are at 6 to go. Paul Gehringer just crossed over the highest point of the racetrack. He is now on the downward slope. We are hearing some drivers reporting the desire to go full distance of the Bathurst race here.
Yeah, can't even imagine that. I don't want to imagine that. These guys have put on enough of a show, especially with the craziness that's happened on the mountain here today. It's been pretty wild. It seems like more than half the field has unfortunately become a victim of the mountain. It seems it's taken too much damage. It's so narrow throughout the course that a lot of them have bounced back and forth off the wall, have spun around, gotten caught, and unfortunately for them, they have found themselves out of the race.
Yeah, and looking through the field here, no real battles happening at this point.
No, not really. The only one that's still relatively close would be Jeremy Tester and, of course, the 66 of Mike Taylor. But Mike Taylor still struggling to get up to him, is more than 2 seconds behind. With the 6 laps to go, it's going to be, technically 5 laps to go for them. Yes, it's going to be tough.
And Gehringer is not far behind these guys.
Not at all. Only 2 drivers on the lead lap, as we have said throughout the race, trying to update you guys and give you the most up-to-date information as we can give it to you. I will run down the top 5 for you guys one more time here before we get to the last 5 laps. In first is the 43 of Paul Gehringer, currently leading the 9 of Kyle Murphy in second by 38 seconds right now. Kyle Murphy in second, the only other driver on the lead lap trying to stay on there. And I believe he'd consider that an achievement for today. Putting down some good times, being able to finish on the lead lap with Paul, definitely a great achievement, especially with what's happened here today. In third would be the 014 of Chris Pence. In fourth, the 58 of Stephen Bollison. And in fifth, the 270. By 2 seconds of Mike Taylor, Jeremy Tester holds that last spot in the top 5.
It does look like Testar is opening up just a little bit more space on Mike Taylor. Taylor may have just run out of car these last few laps. If you're pushing too hard, you're going to burn up your rubber, and you're just not going to be able to have that overall ability to handle these tight corners at your maximum amount of speed.
Yep, that's absolutely fair to say. And I'm looking at these last pit stops here, and both of these drivers pitted on lap 62 was their last pit stop. So about equal on tires, but it just seems like Taylor maybe trying to catch up to Jeremy kind of spent his tires a little too quickly there. And unfortunately for him, it looks like Jeremy's going to get the run on him, but still a few laps to go, and this is a large racetrack. Coming across the line, though, looking closer at the battle, Jeremy was about a second faster than Mike Taylor that time. So he's got an uphill battle. A little bit of time, but we'll keep an eye on that as we go back to our leader. Crossing the line, 4 laps to go. Ever so slightly breaking down this race. Right now, we are closing in on 2 hours and 55 minutes that have been completed, that have elapsed so far in this race. We're just going to break, I think, 3 hours active on the racetrack here tonight.
That is so much racing.
That is quite a bit of racing.
and I mean, and when you think about that, and what a lot of these guys do with circle track racing, you have caution flags, you have moments of rest in the chaos, and there's just none to be had here at all.
Yeah, and they have longer pit stops, right? They have 40, 30 minimum second pit stops, but even that has to last over 20 laps on average under a green flag run. 20 laps, 2 minutes a lap. I mean, that's still forever away from your next pit stop, especially with our leaders only taking 3 pit stops. That's how
Right.
many minutes out of the entire 3-hour race that you get a little bit of a break. It's incredible. This is a tough racetrack. I've said it throughout the evening. It's a very tough racetrack, and the fact that a lot of these guys are even still active is impressive when it comes to this style.
Even when you look at the pit stops they do get for that little bit of a respite, look at the entry they have to take to get into the pit lane. You have just the tightest left, right, left, right, left, right you can possibly have. So as you're coming into like, oh, I get a 30-second break, all of a sudden you're having to fight that.
Yeah, you're having to almost kind of wake up your arms a little bit as you go into the pit lane there, and then you sit there. You've got to wake them back up as you leave the pit stall. But coming around, 3 laps to go. The end is in sight.
You can do it.
Paul Gehringer must be begging for that end right now. Plenty of time out front. Has led every single lap so far tonight. That has been 78 laps out front. Not for a second has lost time here. It's been an incredible race, and I don't think dominant is enough of a word to describe this race for Paul Gehringer.
Yeah, he is just put on a clinic all day long. His laps, still the fastest laps being ran on the track. Just impressive what he's able to pull off in these cars on this track.
Yeah, I was watching the last lap with Kyle Murphy, got into the grass a little bit trying to pass Dan Garber there. I think it was that was Ernie Ludwig. I'm sorry, Ernie Ludwig. Not for position, but Kyle actually snagged a little bit of the grass there and got a little loose. I bet that woke him up coming towards the end of this race.
A little bit of excitement to be had. Something outside of the whole, oh my God, another left, all right, a left, all right, up and down. It sounds like the spotters are getting a little chatty as we're coming up to the end of this race.
Yeah, I think they're ready to have that post-race breakdown, it seems.
Oh, yeah.
Well, looking at Paul right now, he's currently coming down the mountain. The next driver he would encounter was the 48 of Mark McFadden, who, of course, is going incredibly slow compared to Paul Gehringer, and I believe he is the driving punching bag right now. I don't know of any other way to describe that car. Mark McFadden, how he's held onto that car, I have no clue. But he currently finds himself in the 13th position, cannot lose another spot no matter what happens. Can't lose another position, has had a positive gain on the night, qualified 16th, up to the 13th position. And as we come down to 2 laps to go, as soon as Paul Gehringer gets to the line here, coming past the final turn, it's been a long night for a lot of people, but someone that is welcoming that sight is going to be the 43.
And Foster's Ford, driven by Paul Gehringer, just went by the start finish line. We have 2 laps remaining.
And worth reminding everyone, we still only have 2 cars on the lead lap here. And Kyle Murphy is just now coming across the line for his 2 laps to go. So Kyle Murphy still half a second back. He will not finish his race until a little while after Paul has come across the line. So Kyle still got to keep it up there. I'm still impressed, still within 40 seconds of our leader. The only driver even capable of coming close to keeping it on the lap. It seems everyone else at least 1 lap down, and the first guy 1 lap down would be the 014 of Chris Pence.
Yeah, Murphy and LaRon were really the only ones who had anything for Gehringer. Pence had some good laps in them, but really those 2 were the only ones who had a similar enough lap time to keep up. On that last lap, though, Kyle Murphy made up a good amount. But still too little, too late.
Absolutely, keeping a close eye on the 43 of Paul Gehringer, just in case. He's coming down to one to go, coming to the white flag here. He's got this long straightaway, trying to hope everyone gets out of the way. Mark McFadden will. The next driver he's going to run into will be the... Oh my goodness, what happened to him? The 270 is completely toast in the front. We're going to have to review that, see what happened. He took a major hit.
That
he
is
spun.
a
He
hurting
spun at
car.
the top of the mountain. Yeah, that's not surprising at all. 270 is completely hurt. In the meantime, Paul Gehringer coming across the line. White flag. 1 to go for Paul here. Got 2 minutes. Average of 2 minutes and 13 seconds. Later, we will see him cross the line one more time. Back behind him, Kyle Murphy. Coming down the long last straightaway here. He's, got a car off in front of him, actually. That is the 96 of Jared Morgan. Just now coming back on track. Jared Morgan will be clear and back up to speed once the 9 of Kyle Murphy gets to him.
Jared Morgan, he's gotten up to 9th spot.
Yeah,
Good
you
job,
are correct.
Jared.
Very impressive. I believe it was that last mishap of Mark Redeker that gave Jared that last position. Either way, nice rebound. Qualified second. Had that mishap on pit lane. Back to 9th.
Yeah, we were watching Gehringer now. He is coming down the big long stretch in the back here. Almost a little more, few turns. Heading down the hill here. Sorry, lost track of him real quick.
Gotta go
Here
down
we
the
go.
descent first.
I just
he's fast.
got a
He's not
quick
that
look.
fast. Gotta watch him.
There we go. He cuts through those trees. My camera doesn't have that view through there.
Yeah, I got keep a very close eye on him. Got to go up into the chase view. Make sure we keep a close
There
eye
it
on him.
is.
You guys will see him go through these corners and down the straightaway. Very impressive.
Yeah, I've jumped into the cockpit with him. He is flying down here, making that gentle left, gentle right, slamming on the brakes, dropping the gears down, making a sharp right, left trim turn. Woo, there it goes. Yeah, don't turn right. Coming through, he is gonna almost smell that start-finish line. He's got one more. Slam the brakes, drop the gear, and make a sharp 90-degree turn. Hammer down, and there's your flag. Paul Gehringer going to take home the win today at the Pacific Majors Bathurst.
Absolutely. Bathurst 500. Incredibly long event tonight. Very big congratulations to the 43 of Paul Gehringer. What an incredible race. We're going to hop on board with the 9 of Kyle Murphy. The only other driver to finish on the lead lap right now. We'll see if he can make it past these final turns. No one can catch him. He is going to secure that second place under the Armor All banner. Past pit lane entrance and around the final turn. Kyle Murphy will finish in second position here tonight. Big congratulations to him. Last car on lead lap. Nicely done. Very nicely done by Kyle and Paul together. Your top 2 finishing on the lead lap.
Great job, all those guys, as we're still getting cars finishing off.
Absolutely.
It's such a long race. These guys were still racing minutes after the leaders already finished.
Yeah, we've got a remaining time of 2 minutes. The clock has started. It'll start with our leader as he's doing his parade lap at this point. Just coming down the mountain, going to do a full roundabout, letting everyone behind him not impacting their race as well. And I'm sure we'll see a little bit of a celebration, although I have to imagine he's got to be tired after that race.
In front of Paul is the last guy who hasn't taken the checkered flag yet is Mike Taylor, our 5th place sitter right now. He is being it through and almost home.
Yeah, Mike Taylor, nicely done. He actually got that last position. We were following the battle. I had mentioned right before we went to Paul for his last lap, the 270 had completely spun at the top of the mountain, and that awarded Mike Taylor with a position. Mike Taylor finishing in the top 5 after tonight. Nicely done by him, qualified 8th up to 5th. We'll watch these final drivers finish this race as Paul Gehringer has decided he will not celebrate tonight. He is perfectly fine with capturing the win, pulling into the pits, and he is going to give his arms a rest. We're going to go straight to your results here tonight. The top 10 finishers are as follows. Your winner, the 43 of Paul Gehringer. In second, the 9 of Kyle Murphy. In third, the 014 of Chris Pence. First driver 1 lap down, and back behind him, the 58 of Stephen Paulison. In fourth and fifth is the 66 of Mike Taylor, able to hang in there, get a top 5. In sixth is the 270 of Jeremy Testar. In seventh is the 8 of Dan Garber. In eighth is the 26 of Ernie Ludwig. In ninth is the 96 of Jared Morgan. In 10th is the 59 of Mark Redeker.
Rounding out your top 11th through 19th, we've got Robert Laurent in the 09, finishing 11th. Mark McFadden in the 48 brought home 12th, 11 laps down. Scott Kukas in the 85 finished 13th. In 14th, Adam Young in the 21 ride. Matt Gelder had an abusive run in the 69. He ended up 15th. Stacy Hunter took a long break, ended up 41 laps down. Stacy brought it home in 16th. Gary Nichols, 17th. The 18 car of Seth Alberts finished position 18th. Tom Dreiling didn't really get any laps in there today. The 06 finishes up 19th on the day.
Yeah, it was an interesting race, really, throughout the race for our drivers, especially those in the back, not able to finish the race. A lot of spins, a lot of hitting the wall. The Now racetrack up in the mountain has not provided the best environment for these guys. But luckily, we have finished this race completely, a little over 3 hours here tonight. A big congratulations to the 43 of Paul Gehringer. I do not believe we'll be able to get him in the booth. Unfortunately, seems like he is going to take his leave and call it a night. A big shout out to our top 3 finishing on the pole here. Paul Gehringer in first, Kyle Murphy in second, and in third, the 014 of Chris Pence. This has been your broadcast for OC TV, presenting the Pack Majors Bathurst 500 at Mount Panorama. And for Donovan Johns, Katie Reed, and Tony Knuckles, our producer, we are OC TV, and we will see you guys next time.